Hello and welcome to the cast assessment for 1984 Hall of Fame. This was this is very exciting. This is our All Stars season. We have 22 players this season. Hopefully, we are starting at 11 p.m. the night before the cast reveal. So technically, cast has not been revealed yet, so we don't actually have any insight on their relationships yet, other than what we have heard from pre-gaming, which unfortunately has happened this game, but it is what it is. In an all-star season, it's going to happen. So we are here to assess the cast, all 22 of them. Hopefully we're not here all night, but we probably will be. So
Can we do something really extra before we start?
let's go for it.
Are you ready? Are you ready?
Do it.
It's All Stars, baby!
I'm over you. This is why Blake is leaving for oh no, never mind.
Oh.
I've been asked to resign. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, so we're gonna go in the order that they are being revealed. So first up, coming from season 1 and season 4. Season 1, he placed 7th. Season 4, he came back as a flop and didn't quite flop again. He had a pretty good reign and could not win a couple competitions that he needed in the end, and was ultimately taken out at 5th place. Jackson Walsh, who would like to get us started?
I'll start. I don't.
Go for it.
So Jackson Walsh is somebody who I honestly don't know where he's going to land in this season, because it really depends on who wins the first HOH, in my opinion. If he has any of the power of 3 win the first HOH, I think he is going up on the block. Well, depending. Because I think a couple of them would nominate somebody else. But I think that he is definitely a liable option to put on the block if one of the power of 3 or multiple of the power of 3 get into power, since we are having that twist.
Imagine the power of 3 being the first power of 3.
How shook up would he be?
Ability.
So yeah, if multiple of the power of 3 get into power the first week, I think that Jack is for sure going up on the block. However, he has a bunch of Billy and Kevin's, I don't want to say army because it's all stars, and I think that people will ultimately make their own decisions, but Billy and Kevin's army that they're trying to form preseason are going to back Jack, and I think that that could be a very, very good thing for him. He's good at his mental competitions, he's good at his puzzles, he's good at his he's even good at some physical stuff. I think one thing working against Jack is sometimes the way that he acts in certain situations, or the way that he talks to people sometimes. I know it can rub people the wrong way. However, do I think Jack will go far? No. I think he's going to be more so of a middle of the road boot. I think we could be looking at Jack's first pre-jury placement this season, to be honest.
Yeah, I will piggyback off of pretty much everything you just said. I listed Jack as a possible first boot. I'm not too strong on that. I think it just depends on who gets in power. So I think that, as Blake said, with the power of 3, I think if Caleb gets in the power, I think that it would more be 2 other people that I'll talk about later, possibly going up rather than Jack. But I think if Megan or Drew gets it, I feel like Jack could be in some trouble. But depending on how the cards fall with who else is in power, he could have some people behind him. I agree, Jack is very good at mental competitions. He can do physical competitions if he really needs to. So I think that Jack has potential. He has a lot of potential. His average placement is 6th, which is better than our other 2-time returner. Even though Caleb Reed has 1. But if I had to predict, I think Jack would be pre-jury this season. I think that he's gonna have a big target on his back, and I think he would be an easy scapegoat to kick out. This page.
I think based off of his intro video, he tried to downplay himself. He was like, I played season 1 and got 7th, and I might have came back. I can't remember. I think he's trying to downplay himself too much, and that actually might end up painting more of a target on him. And I don't really know how he'll fit in with this cast. He's kind of on the outs of the alliances, like against the Power of Three. He was on the other side. So, like, based on the people of his season, he won't really have those alliances. But I'm not entirely sure who he'll work with from other seasons, as I haven't seen many games that have him.
I will say that him and Sam really hit it off in season 1. So if Sam picks that back up and defends Jack, that could be a saving grace for Jack. I don't know if Sam and Jack still talk at all. Sam mentioned that he talks to people from his cast all the time, but I'm not sure if Jack is one of them. But I think that could be a saving grace for Jack, because I do think that Sam and Jack are going to end up on opposite sides of this game. And so if those two could work each side, it's a possibility that those two could make it far together. I don't necessarily think that Jack and Lee will work together. Keaton and Jack might work together. I think Jack's going to have a better chance with his season 1 people than his season 4 people, and I think that's kind of obvious. And then I think that Jack also has a good shot with maybe some season 2 and some season 3 people. Season 3, I'm not quite sure. Season 3 is kind of wild card season. So
Yeah. I think that. Sorry, Paigey.
I was gonna say, I think that not having Julian actually might help him, because they were very close duo in season 4, because they were kind of forced to be. But I think not having him might take the strategical target off of him a little bit, because like he was good at puzzles, but him and Julian are both good, and like I think that amplified with the two of them being on the same side.
I think looking at the bigger picture, people would automatically think that Jack and Keaton would work together because of like group chats, but I honestly don't see them working together, because from things that I've seen, I think that they get under each other's skin a little bit too much, and I don't think that will, if they do try to work together, they might be able to last for a little bit, but I don't think that would
be a long-term alliance at all.
Not at all.
I could see like a foursome of Billy, Kevin, Jack, and Keaton forming, but then I do think that Keaton is smart enough to turn on it, which obviously Keaton later, but I think that Jack and Keaton will be looked at as a duo, but I don't think they actually will be one, which could be good for I think it would be good for one of their games, whoever doesn't get cut because of it, but I don't know. So, okay. So, are we ready to move on?
Yes, sir.
Next, the person who ran the pre-jury of season 3, ending up with player of the season, even though he went out in 8th place. He shaved his eyebrow and went home in the same week. 8th place from the Golden Age is X. I can start with X. X has been doing very well in games. He made Final 2 in Identity, which I know that's not, I don't know, it's not that high stakes of a game, but he still made Final 2. He made Final 3 in Trinity and almost won. He only lost because it was a tie. He's been making it very far in every game he plays. He's having trouble securing it at the end, though. I think what he needs to work on is his relationships with people and his jury management, obviously, because I think that's something that he's going to have to work on. I actually have X as a possible finalist, but I don't have him as a winner pick. I think that X has a very big target on his back in this game, but he's very good at competitions. And I think that his competition wins could help him in this game and it could keep him alive for a while. From what I've seen, him and Bria and Yoshi, who were a threesome in their season, I've heard that X is not cool with him anymore, or more like Bria and Yoshi are not cool with X anymore. I don't know how it is in the other direction. But I don't think that Bria and Yoshi will work with X as closely as they did in their season, which could be a downfall of X's. But I feel like X is close with Cindy. They both were in the final 3 of Identity together. X did cut Cindy, but I think those two still have a good relationship. And then X got really close with Caleb Reed in Trinity. So I think X has a good shot. I think he has to keep the target off of himself. I know in the past X has said that his first target in All Stars is Jabbar, and if he guns for Jabbar, I feel like that could either be a really good thing for him or a really bad thing for him, because if Jabbar has people backing him, then there's no way X is gonna make it out of that. But if Jabbar does not have people backing him and he can get him out, then X gets out a big threat and then can hide in the shadows for a while and not have to do much. So I don't know. I have high hopes for X. I think he'll at least make the jury.
Paigey, did you want to go next?
Once you go.
Okay. X is one of those players that is a very big wild card for me, because kind of like Jack, I could see him going anywhere in the boot list. I know we wouldn't have done this, but if we did All Stars like right after season 3, I would say that X stands absolutely no chance of going far at all, because his gameplay is just very abrasive at times, and kind of in your face. But seeing him play more orgs, it seems like he's gotten a little bit better at that and is not so in your face, which I think is something that works out very, very well for him now. I thought that him and Yoshi were still okay. So I think that Yoshi might.
It might just be Bria. I've heard from Bria and I think Napolito that X wasn't that cool with Bria anymore. But I'm not sure if I feel like if Yoshi has to choose sides, he's gonna choose Bria. So,
Yeah.
right.
I mean, I don't think X is gonna make it quite to the end in this cast.
Mhm.
I think he has a chance of going far. Like you said, I think he will make the jury.
Mhm.
Also, I'm interested to see how the bigger jury will work this season, since we're doing our biggest jury yet. Wonder how that dynamic will work. But I think X stands a decent shot. I could see him being like mid jury, maybe around like I I hate to say it, but maybe around 8th again, like 8th to 10th, maybe.
He
That's
could be one of the triple boots. Honestly.
yeah.
Like I think that would make sense. I forget what competitions we had planned for that, but I feel like that would be an easy time to get him out, because he wouldn't have time to manipulate people into keeping him. So,
Mhm.
I mean, in the mini, that's when he went out as the triple, but it's obviously it's a different format of a triple, but I feel like that kind of round is an easy time to get rid of him.
Yeah.
Paige, do you want to talk about X?
So, I know in the past you said, like, because he tried to get into season 2, that season 2 wouldn't have been a good fit for him. And I think that we have a lot of those big personalities, from season 2 that, so I think that it might not be a good fit. Like, he might not do super well.
because there is Jabbar, there is Caleb, there is Luke, and there's just all these big personalities, and I think he might just fall in there somewhere.
Mhm.
And
That could also be helpful for him, though, to be
it could,
to
but I
fall.
think
I don't know.
like people know he shaved his eyebrow, so he's willing to go all out. So I think that could paint a target on him, even though he did end up getting evicted that week, but he was willing to shave off his eyebrow for a competition. So I think because of that, like, he might have a target on his back, but I think it all just depends on who gets power when.
I felt so bad for X. He literally shaved his eye. He was walking around with a one eyebrow on his face for however long for a game, and he got evicted that week.
I think he was stupid for doing that, though, knowing he couldn't go do some of the tasks. But it's okay.
Yeah.
I never thought somebody would shave their eyebrow for our game, and we've had 3 people do it now. So I mean, oh well. Okay.
Yeah.
Move on.
I don't think there's any eyebrow shaving this season.
I don't think so. Well, there might be. I don't know. We have that competition. We could throw it in there. But we'll see. Burks is freaking out that Trinity, there's a lot of 1984 alumni in the Trinity cast. So okay. Funny thing, Burks just said, did you guys bring Tyler back? Well, it's time for Tyler. From season 2, he was an underdog, Paige's ally, even though I don't think would have been by choice.
I'm gonna change to computer real quick.
You're good. Yes, next is Tyler, who got 6th place in season 2. Blake, do I start or do you want me to?
Sure.
You don't seem so confident about starting.
I know this is like a common thing, but I think it's just the starter players in this list that I'm feeling this way about. But I feel like Tyler is yet another wild card. I don't know where he's going to land at in the placement order. As we saw, he was one of the people who were willing to go for like hours in the blackjack comp to try to
and then
win.
got 0 points and make my co-teacher drive us to class the next day.
Yeah, so like I think that he'll be high up on the hit list for multiple people? No. Do I think he could be caught in some crossfires? Yes. And I think he could also be an easy boot when people don't want to make those big moves early on. So kind of like I said with Jack, I think it depends who wins HOH early on and which HOH it is, because there will be those players who, if there is quote unquote 2 sides this season, like it looks like there may be, there are going to be those players who don't want to cement, huh?
I said I so hope there's 2 sides. I think
like if there is 2 sides, I still think there's going to be those players who don't want to cement themselves in a side. And I could easily see Tyler being one of those boots who, if one of those people do happen to win HOH, he could be an easy boot to get rid of. Tyler is very good strategically. He can work his way in socially, and he is good at comps. So he is the triple threat that I don't think anybody will be looking at as a triple threat. But he's definitely dangerous going into an all-star season. But like I said, there's multiple people who are standout targets, and Tyler I don't see as one of those people. So like I said, I think I don't have a placement range for Tyler at all, because I think it strictly depends who wins HOH and who's willing to make big moves or little moves to try to keep the target off their back.
I think that had we stayed on 10 gauge, he would be much more of a target, because these people who are not 10 gaugers don't know that he's number 1 on the site. Like, because
it'll come out very quickly though, I'm sure.
Yeah, but I feel like they might give him a chance to like get to know him and stuff before just assuming. But I think Tyler is someone who's very is my way or the highway. I played YouTube Survivor with him, and he basically told me that if I don't use an idol on him, that he was never going to talk to me again, and it caused me to get evicted. So, and I was trying to tell him that, and he was like,
But who
"No,
won
you're
that
gonna."
season? But who won that season?
Yeah, but he's very much it's my way or you're gonna get out. Like I'm gonna cut you and I'm not gonna talk to you again. And he'll use that as a threat because he's used the I'm not going to talk to you multiple times against me.
Which that
Now-
could end up rubbing people the wrong way.
The only
Mhm.
with this cast, though, I don't think Tyler has a relationship with too many people in this cast that he could threaten that, because
That's true.
a lot of these, like, the people from season 2, season 5, some season 4, they really don't have a relationship with him where he could threaten that. I think there's enough people here that they don't care if he talks to them anymore. Like, they really don't care. What was that face for?
I just remembered about him and Caleb's like showmance that
Yeah.
they had.
Okay, so
Can we
funny
talk
thing,
about that? Thank you.
Tyler mentioned his duo, and I don't know if he realizes that. I don't know if he's kept up with 1984 enough to know that Caleb has won now, and Caleb will be on this season. And he called out that he was a duo with him. He said 14th place in season 2, like or second boot or whatever. Like he knows, or I don't know if he even knows that Caleb could be here. So
And I think that Caleb would honestly be
threat.
more. I think that Caleb would honestly be more loyal to Tyler than he would be any member of the Power of Three.
I completely agree with that. I think that Caleb and Tyler are gonna be a duo in this game. And I think it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I do think Tyler's gonna end up working with the Power of Three or whoever Caleb works with. Because I feel like Tyler doesn't have as many connections in this game as Caleb does, but I think the two of them will work well together. I personally put Tyler. Tyler was the one person I had put him in pre-jury at first, and then I said, I think he's gonna make jury. So I think that the thing with Tyler is that I feel like he should be a big threat, but with this cast, he's not. Like, he is an amazing game player, and he should be one of the biggest threats on this cast. But with the people that we have, he's not. Like, he didn't do entirely too much in this season. He was the underdog of the season, and he got an HOH that took out Jay, one of the people that was doing very well in the competitions. But he really didn't do entirely too much in his season. I think he was just a memorable member of the opposition to the huge side that ran that game. So I actually ended up putting Tyler as a possible losing finalist. I don't necessarily have him as a winner pick, but I do think he could make finals. I think if he makes finals, it would be with somebody that's probably a bigger player that does more in the game than him. With him, he's actually the second person so far. Him and X both are on the Trinity cast right now. I think that will affect the game a little bit, I think. But with it being two different formats, I'm not sure. I mean, season 3, we had half of our cast in Trinity, and I don't think it affected it too much. So I'm hoping that's how this season goes. We'll have to see. But I end up I think I have high hopes for Tyler. I
think I agree with you that he'll probably slide under the radar with this cast. He doesn't know a lot of them, but they also don't know him, so they probably won't pick him out as a threat as much.
However, I think there will be some people who will call him out, like Billy Vance.
Billy Vance.
Who else is from Tengage? Billy Vance, Lee. Ooh,
Lee,
ooh, ooh.
will Lee and Tyler work together, or do they not like each other?
I don't think so
I
because
don't
Lee
remember. Because
during
I
YouTube
I
Survivor
played
All
Stars
Stars.
with both of them, but that was like 3 or 4 years ago, and they were in final three, and I got fourth place or whatever. But I don't know how their relationship is now. That'll be interesting to see.
Wait, actually, they might work together. I don't know.
I
I don't
feel
know.
like it'll be
That's very hard. I feel like they're very, very,
on again.
very, very off and on.
I think it'll depend. Um, I think Lee's targets are going to end up being the power of three. Well, Lee is our next person. Why don't we just move on to Lee since we're talking about him anyway? Third place from season 1. He, if Josh would have brought him, he likely would have won the season. But Josh did not, and Lee got third. Lee is not as high on the power rankings as he probably deserves to be, but that's simply because Lee didn't send us many confessionals his first season, so we didn't get to see too much of his game. So next is Lee. I personally have Lee as a possible first boot, but I think it'll depend on who gets in power. I think Lee could just be an easy scapegoat for a first boot. I don't know, like when I pick him as a first boot, it's more like who's most likely to be first boot, not certain situations. Because I think certain people getting into power, it's more likely for certain people to be the one evicted. But I think Lee has the most opportunity, other than maybe the other two people I had as first boots. I think that if Lee doesn't get first boot, I do think he'll probably go pre-jury. But I mean, I feel like Lee plays 1984 different than he plays other games because the other games I've seen him play, he plays a lot more louder. Like he plays a louder, more outgoing game. Where in 1984 he toned it back, and if he can do that again, I think that he could slip through the cracks because I don't necessarily think he's a big target. I think he's somebody that could slip through. I think there are people that he could connect with. So we'll have to see what happens. I think that him and Chris are gonna be targeted together probably. I feel bad for Chris because it could end up being a Lauren situation again. But I do think that if the two of them ended up on the block together, I think Chris would be safe. So
I think Chris has the upper hand in that situation for sure.
Lee's already mentioned that he hopes. I think he said that he hopes Chris is on and that they're gonna be a power duo.
He said, I'm pretty sure he said that he does not want Chris on the
Oh, does not.
targeted.
Oh, because he said that it might be like you and Chris and Trinity. I don't really remember him much from season 1, but did he play Surviving one as well?
He did
Yes.
play Surviving.
And I know, like, towards the end of his time, like, he started rubbing people the wrong way. And I think we have some of the same people, and they could just not want to put up with him.
I think they screwed him over. It was Megan, right? It
I
was
think so.
Megan, Grace, Josh, and was it Drew?
I don't think it was Megan. I think it was.
No, it
I just remember Lee was blindsided with his idol in his pocket.
And Nick
But-
was on the tribe. I think it was Drew. I think it was Drew, Megan.
It was Drew for sure.
Yeah, it was Drew, Megan, Grace, and Josh, I think. And so I think that
It was Nick too, because I remember Nick being. Wasn't it Nick? Because I felt like they were blindsided after the vote.
yeah, Nick was on the tribe, but Nick did not vote them out.
Yes.
Yeah, the other person that was blindsided. I think that if Lee gets power, he's going after the power of 3, and he's openly said that in his production chat. So power of 3 better watch out if Lee gets power. I don't know how likely it is with what our first competition is, but it's possible.
Yeah, I don't see him getting. I see him getting pre-jury. I don't think that he'll go very far. I think sometimes is he like 18?
20.
Oh, he's 20. He sometimes, and from my experiences, doesn't necessarily act on the older side. He acts more towards the younger side. So that could just rub people the wrong way.
He acts like a teenager.
Yeah.
It's the easiest way to say that. Which is not supposed to be like a bad thing, but it kind of is. I don't want to like a bad thing, but I mean it kind of is. I don't know.
Michael, I don't know if you saw the assessment chat. Caleb said, "Have you started it?" I don't know if you want to tell him he can still join, or if we just want to do us three. But yeah, I think Lee won't have like those social connections, and like we've already mentioned, him and Chris will be seen as a duo, and he'll probably get the worst end of that, but meaning that he'll get evicted if they're both up.
Yeah. And
I
I
agree.
think Chris is more likely to win a competition if they're put up together. Chris is
Mm-hmm.
win the veto to save himself rather than Lee being able to. Lee didn't win that many comps. I think he won like one or two.
Before I start on to Lee, I just want to say that I think we underappreciate our season 1 players, but I think I think that Lee was definitely one of the biggest characters that season and one of the biggest players that season, in my opinion. Kind of like you all said, I definitely think that Lee goes pre-jury. I hate to say that because I love Lee. My Tina Crimson. But I think he definitely goes pre-jury. Like you said, if Chris and Lee go on the block together, Chris is gonna stay. Actually, you know what? I in most situations I think Chris would stay, but
we have a special guest from. Hold on, I'll wait for him to come back. From season 2. The 4th placer from season 2, Caleb Reynolds, is here to help us assess the cast. Unfortunately, Caleb did not accept his spot this season, but he's here to help us for a little while. So we have already talked about Jack, X, and Tyler. Caleb, we are currently on Lee, so Blake was going. So
no. Like in most situations, if it was between Chris and Lee, I think that Chris stays. However, since it is All Stars, I could see people. I love that pumpkin. Is that pumpkin spice ice cream?
Yeah.
Ooh, okay, I love that. I think since it's All Stars, I think Chris could have that bigger target. So I think there is a world in which Lee does stay against Chris, but I think most situations Lee is going to leave against Chris. But yeah, I definitely think Lee gets pre-jury. I don't think he's going to be the first boot, but I think that he will definitely go pre-jury.
Caleb, do you have anything to say about Lee?
I disagree with Blake, actually. I think Lee is a dark horse. I think he's someone that really could fly under the radar early on. I think a lot of people didn't watch season 1. So I do agree, he could either go, I think he goes pre-jury or he's in the final 5. And here's why. He doesn't have the connections to make him as big as a threat as some of the other players in the cast. Yeah, he has Chris, but there's some people in the cast that have more connections, and I think they'll be targeted before him.
Yeah.
But being a season 1 player, he could be easily targeted in the beginning just because not having as many connections. So my prediction is either he'll be one of the first 5 boots or he will be in the final 5. There's no in between.
I agree.
Really quick before we move on too far, since you were the person that took him out, I want to hear your thoughts about Tyler.
Okay.
You did take him out.
Tyler. I actually don't think Tyler is going to be as big of a threat as he was in season 2.
That's what we said.
And I think that's going to work really well for him. Season 2, he had, connections with people. He was viewed as like a 10-gauge threat. Well, a lot of these players don't play 10-gauge, right? So they don't know who Tyler is, and they don't really know, he's not really known in the org community. He's another one I think to watch out for. I think, honestly, he's one of my picks to possibly go all the way and win it. Like I noticed how big of a threat he was, but I don't know if everyone else will. So we will see how he does.
Yeah.
But I do think 100% he's making jury, at least.
Caleb, we also mentioned about him and the other Caleb,
Yes.
because
Him and Caleb Reed were a duo,
Mhm.
and he mentioned in his video that his duo got out week 2. I don't know if Tyler has kept up with 1984 enough to even know that Caleb Reed ended up winning a season. So I don't know if he even knows that Caleb could beat him.
Oh.
That'll be interesting.
Mhm.
So yeah, I personally said that I thought Tyler might end up making finals, but not winning, depending on who he sits next to. Because I think he could be looked at as the person that just didn't do as much. So I don't know. Okay.
He's smart though. You better watch out.
He was gonna be one of my closest allies in Trinity if I would have stayed in the game. So yeah, that was sad.
Mhm.
Okay. Did anybody
Wait,
have
I have a question. So was Jabbar my replacement for not playing?
Okay, so I can go over that really quick. So it was kind of a little circle. So Jabbar originally declined, and so when he declined, we asked Tyler, and so then Tyler got the spot, and then you dropped, and then we gave the spot back to Jabbar. So that's how that worked.
Gotcha.
From the beginning, Tyler was like the one person that we were like, if somebody drops, we're giving it to Tyler. Like we want it to be Tyler to have the extra spot, which we ended up opening an extra spot for the cast because of one person. I'm not gonna say it on here because it was kind of a flop on production's standpoint to not give them a spot. So I'm just not gonna say who that was. But we added one person to the cast. That's why it's 22 and not 21. But yeah. So next person we have to talk about, first person from season 5 that we were talking about, Billy Vance. He pretty much him and Kevin ran the season in season 5. And Billy came up a little bit short, ending in 6th place. Who wants to start with Billy Vance?
I'll start with Billy. Like I said, I think this is just going to sound like a broken record. I think Billy needs to separate himself from Kevin. That's going to be his biggest mistake coming in here again, because Billy and Kevin are pre-mating together. They need to, or not pre-mating, pre-gaming together. They are going to make the same exact mistake they did season 5, only they're not going to get away with it this time because everybody knows about them. I think in an all-star season, you have to come in being willing to play an all-star game. You can't play the same exact game over again, and you can't play with somebody who everybody knows you're going to play with. So
me and Blake wanting to work together in Kennedy.
I think that Billy and Kevin need to separate each other, but they won't. And that's going to be at least one of their downfalls, is that they're not going to separate from each other. And it's going to cause one of them to go early. It's going to cause the other one to go decently far in the game. One of them goes early. I don't see a way around it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think they both could end up going early. They were both big, like, personalities, big targets, big villains in their season. I think for sure one of them's pre-jury. I wouldn't be surprised if the other one's early jury. Like, I don't see them getting as far this time. Like, they have a reputation. They were just in the last season. I think if they'd maybe been season 1, like, it wouldn't necessarily be as fresh in people's minds, but it's so fresh. And we have the most people from season 5. So, like, I think
Season
that's
5
also
pre-gaming together. Like, they're pre-gaming together, except for Rizzo and Benner. I know that Cindy has been talking a lot with Kevin and Billy, from what I've heard, and then with Cindy comes Bryce. So
so I think that that's not going to be good for them, that they have so many from their season as well. That could be a downfall. Whereas I think, like, with Benner, it could be a help, like, because they're so much more of a target than he is, like, because he got first juror. So, like, but I think we're talking about Billy. I think that Billy, he he might rub people the wrong way. He is production though of Trinity. Is he production this season?
Billy's on
did he-
production, yes.
Okay, yeah. So he is hosting some of these people, like Tyler and X, and so he might have the upper hand over Kevin in those situations. So I kind of think Kevin might be the one that's pre-jury and Billy's early jury.
I agree with you guys. I put Billy making jury, but I could easily see him going pre-jury. I do think that between the two of them, I think Billy will probably make it farther. What are you thinking, Paige? I want to know what you think.
Oh wait, I was just thinking about one of our twists.
You can say it.
I can say it. So one of the twists we have for the Golden Age is the double, and I feel like they might be put together, and that would be a prime opportunity, like to nom them and get them out.
I want to Caleb really quick. So, in like I don't know exactly what week it is, like 5 or 6. We're gonna have we're gonna do a dead man walking twist where the dead man walking, whoever gets evicted is going to pair everybody up as duos for the next week. I don't know if we have completely talked about how that eviction's gonna work, but there will be 2 people leaving that week, and I could see Kevin and Billy getting out that week. I would not be shocked if that happened. But I
think this
power move. Oh
That
my
would
god,
be-
that'd be wild.
are we gonna tell the dead man walking person that a duo's like getting evicted, or what the duos are for? Or are they just gonna duo them?
I think
Have we decided that?
we'll probably tell them what to do this
Okay.
for. I love that.
I'm just want to say about Billy. Wait, what is it?
No, you go, Caleb.
I just want to say I think Billy is. This is really specific. Third boot, because I don't think he'll be the first boot. Because usually the first boot is someone that's inactive, kind of quiet. Usually is always the first boot. But I do think that he will be the third boot because someone's going to make a big move against him week 3, and he will go home. Very
You're
specific.
right. If you're right, I will literally buy you a piece of merch that you want. Like if Billy Vance gets third, let me know what piece of merch you want, and I will.
I said third boot. Third boot.
Yeah. Third boot, yes. If he gets third boot, I will send you whatever merch you.
So if
my
he gets
goodness, wait.
20th place. 20th
I have a
place.
question.
Yeah.
I have a question, guys. How far do you think I would have made it with this cast? I'm just curious.
I think you would have gone far.
I think you would have at least made jury.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna ask that same question at the end. So
I think Paige would have made jury too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it would just depend how I played.
I think it depends on specific situations, but I think that both of you would have made
Well,
jury.
with Drew on this cast, Caleb, I think that one of the 2 of you would go early and the other would go pretty far.
Actually, we both told each other that if like I told him afterwards the season, I was like, let's actually make a final 2 if we were. I mean, I wouldn't trust him that far, but yeah.
Okay. We probably should move on because I don't want to be here forever. So next, the Rolling Eyes Queen herself from season 4, the runner-up of the season, who lost in a vote of 8-1, Megan Humphreys. Is anybody shocked she's here? No, nobody's shocked she's here.
Can I say something? Can I go first on this one?
Yeah.
I think out of the 3, Megan will be the one that's targeted first.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be shocked.
Because I think Drew would not be targeted because he's not really like a physical threat, right? But I think Caleb Reed is better at navigating situations and not making people pissed off as much.
Even when
I think Megan has a big ego and a big. Huh?
I said even when Caleb does make people mad, he knows how to get out of it.
Exactly. So I do think the power 3 will be targeted early. It just depends on who comes into power, I think. But I do think Megan will be a pre-jury member unless she can somehow separate herself from obviously the power 3. But I think she's gonna have trouble doing that. I'm shocked you guys casted all 3 of them actually. But
I mean, we named a season.
I think Megan will be the first one to go out of the 3. Yeah.
I guess.
I think she's the first one to go. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you can go.
I think probability is she'll probably be first, but I think that she would take it the worst of the three. Because she was having like a hard time with like feeling like she didn't want to play because everyone hates her, and I think that she would just take that really bad. And so like I don't think that she'd do well. Though she does have Cindy. Like they were super close. She referred Cindy to playing. And so I think that that could help her because with Cindy she has Bryce, and then they've also been pre-gaming with the season 5 people. So I think that it's possible Drew could be the first one of the power of 3 to go because of that. But I think Megan, she's a good player, but sometimes she takes things the wrong way. And sometimes things are just over dramatized. I don't know if that's the right word. Like the eye rolling thing. Like it kind of blew out of proportion. Like there wasn't a ton different between her and Caleb's game, but like how badly she took it, and like she might take things the wrong way, or if she gets nommed, and that could rub people the wrong way. Like if she gets nommed and has a like freak out about it, that could actually end up pushing people to voting her even more.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I have Megan pre-jury. I originally had her jury, but I decided I put her pre-jury. I do think that she could be a person that possibly makes jury because of the twist.
I could see that.
So I think that she could be somebody that can win that. So that's a possibility, but I think that Megan's a really good player. I think with this group, I mean, Megan made it to final 3 in Trinity with everybody knowing how big of a threat she was. So I wouldn't be shocked if she could make it pretty far again. But I think with this group, with it being 1984, this is where that target started for her in this community. I think that she likely gets pre-jury, but I wouldn't be shocked if Megan makes jury.
So I agree with Caleb about how I think out of the power of 3 that Megan will be the first targeted. I guess the thing working for Megan is that she has that connection with Cindy, but Billy and Kevin are hardcore after Megan. That's what Billy was saying the other day. So I'm not sure if that's going to stick. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's going to stick or if it's going to switch, but out of the power of 3, I think Megan goes first. And she, I hate to say it, but she is one of my 3 first boot predictions. I don't know if she'll actually go. I don't know if she'll actually go first boot, but pre-jury, I definitely think she's going pre-jury for sure. I'll get into detail. I actually think the biggest threat out of the power of 3 is the one that's going to potentially make it the furthest.
Yeah, I could agree with that. Okay, next, the recent Pro Survivor winner, our also most recent runner-up from season 5. Next up is Rizzo. I think Rizzo is a very good game player. Obviously, he just made finals in 2 orgs in a row, winning one of them, making a very good case in 1984 to win. For the game he played, I think his final speech was really good. I personally have Rizzo in pre-jury because, for one, he just won Pro Survivor, and he just got second place in 1984. He's the most recent runner-up. And also, I've heard that he's being pre-gamed against by his own season. I do think that the power of 3, like the actual power of 3, will back him. I think that Megan and Caleb and Drew and Nick are all going to be behind him. I think that Bria is also going to be behind him. I think Jabbar could be behind him. So depending on how those votes end up falling, I think Rizzo could be targeted early, but I don't know if he'd actually leave. I think it would depend on who he's against. But I do have Rizzo pre-jury, but I would not be shocked if Rizzo made it far.
For me, I think that Rizzo has a lot going against him. He has his season pre-gaming against him. He also had Nick yesterday in the alum chat when he won pro, like saying how much he loved him, how close they were, and all of that stuff. He also didn't he win Nick's first season of Only One Left?
No, that was Caleb.
Caleb.
Rizzo got, I think, third.
He is really good at challenges. I think that could play against him. And I know in season 5, he did not talk as much as a lot of people. He was kind of more on the, I don't know if I would say physical or strategical, but like he was not social. And so that definitely rubbed people the wrong way. And that played a lot into why he lost. I'm not sure if he'll fix that because like in Only One Left, he also wasn't super social. So I think that could be his biggest downfall is that people are pre-gaming against him and he doesn't have this past record of being very social. And so if he's not very social again, I think if he gets nommed, people are going to evict him.
I think he also made a very I think it was kind of stupid for him to evict Bryce when he did. I think the way he did it, he didn't warn anybody. I think it was kind of a gut decision, and I think it turned out bad for him. So if he's making those kind of decisions again in this game, I think that could be bad for him. Also in 1984, he did not do as much during the beginning of the game, but I feel like with this being All Stars, this is going to be the game that's most important to him, and I think he will be more active, and that could cause a target on him. So,
I think this is really a specific game, but I think Rizzo will be took out 2 rounds before the jury starts. I don't know when that starts, but I think that for Rizzo, I don't think he's the biggest threat coming into the cast. I don't think he has the biggest target on him, but I do think there is a target on his back. I don't know if you guys can hear me because my internet's being weird, but I do think if he can align himself with the right people, he can possibly make jury, but I just don't see a chance of him winning this game at all, unless he can just win his way out to the end. I don't think that's going to happen. So I think he will be targeted, not right away, but I do think he'll be targeted pre-jury. And if he sits on the block, he goes home against some of the social players that could talk themselves out of a lot of situations. So I don't know when am I allowed to know when the jury starts?
13.
Okay, he's getting 15th.
So I kind of agree with everything y'all have said. Rizzo has a very steep hill to climb this season, just because the whole season of Power of 3 wants him out first.
It doesn't help him that he just played either.
Right. Yeah. And I think that Nick and Rizzo obviously will be put together as a duo. That's something that also does not help Rizzo. Another one of my first boot predictions.
Oh yeah, I forgot to say
it sucks to say I love Rizzo so much and I want him to do well, but I don't see him making it far this round. You have Bryce, who's probably still bitter against. And I don't want to say bitter, but they remember what happened last season.
I would not be shocked if Bryce.
You have Bryce, you have Kevin, you have Billy, you have Cindy, you have probably people from other seasons too who will find Rizzo to be a threat. Also,
I would have worked with him, but sorry.
Me too. Yeah, I mean, kind of like Paige said, his lack of being social sometimes is not beneficial for him, and I think he's really gonna have to crank that up a little bit, tone down the strategic aspect of the game that he turned up in the fourth quarter last game. I think he needs to work on his socialness before he works on anything else this season, if he wants to stand a shot.
I really was shady with this reveal order accidentally, because next up is none other than Nick Watson. So Nick was the second person to ever shave their eyebrow for 1984. However, this time that person won that competition. So Nick ended up leaving in our first ever triple, finishing in 9th place. I can talk about Nick.
I think Blake should start with this one.
Blake, can talk about this one, or you don't have to. If you don't feel comfortable, you don't have to.
Sure. I've said this every time Nick has played. I think they are too trusting in people. I also think that Nick is I'm not even saying this to be rude, like they're self-proclaimed like abrasive and in your face with their gameplay. And so I think that that is something that's definitely going to work against them. I know people like Billy and Kevin have also said that they don't really enjoy playing with Nick anymore, just because of how much like they brag when something goes their way, or like they brag if they win any or like something. And I know that Billy said that that was something that was kind of hurtful from Taze whenever Taze gets brought up. And so I don't see Nick going far this season. But I could be wrong.
I personally have Nick as a pre-jury boot. I think Nick's coming in as a threat. They got 9th place, but which is actually one of the like worst placements, I guess, on the season. But I think they're one of the bigger threats. I mean, they won Sequester, they won Taze. They have been making it far in a lot of games they've been playing. So I wouldn't be shocked if Nick is targeted early. But then again, I think Nick could make it very far. I think that Nick has connections in this game between Rizzo and Megan and Chris and Caleb and Burks even and Bria and Yoshi. Like, I think Nick has connections all across the board. So depending on who is willing to be loyal to Nick could make it far. I don't know. I think that Nick's either going to be very early boot or making it to the end.
I could see, like, real quick, sorry, I'm not trying to cut whoever's going next off. I could see, if we are talking about like these two possible sides, I could see Nick being one of those middle ground players that gets to choose which side they want to go with every
I
round.
love playing like that. It's so much fun.
And I do think that they could be in that position as well.
Oh, okay. I want to say, remember how I said like I had Nick as like one of my winner picks. I think they actually have, if they can possibly like hide in plain sight, be a big personality, be a big person, allow people to go after those under the radar players. Like, in my opinion, those players are the most dangerous. And if they can convince the other players to be like, hey, Burks, did you see how he played and how he won? He was able to sneak under the radar. I think they could actually hide in plain sight and possibly take it all the way to the end, because I think they're good at competitions. They have the connections, and I think they could play the middle very well given the right opportunities. So I think Nick is someone that people are counting out, but I have Nick going really far and possibly winning the season. So
I wouldn't be shocked either way. Like, as I said, I think it's going to be one or the other. I think they're either going to go pretty early because they're a big threat, or they're going to go really far because they're a big threat.
Nick does need to tone it down and not be so.
But
so
they did mention that.
OTT.
They did mention that in their video that they need to tone it down. So if they listen to themselves,
because I know some people are getting very, very over that strategy coming from Nick, and I don't think in this All-Star season it's gonna work this time. So I mean, if they tone that down, I think they could go far.
Paige, do you have any? Sorry.
Yes. I think that they'll get pre-jury. I think that they're another one that could be, if Rizzo survives week 1, I think that whoever makes the duos could pit Rizzo and Nick together, and they could also be a victim of that twist between Nick and Rizzo. If because I think that they're both big targets and they wouldn't help each other necessarily to survive because they have kind of opposite sides coming after them. So I think that they both could, if they were a duo, they could get evicted because of that. I don't think, even if that didn't happen, I don't think that Nick would make jury. I think that they've been coming off a little too strong lately. They've made it very clear that they're close with Rizzo, and I think that they have just rubbed some people the wrong way. People may forgive, but they don't forget, and so they won't forget how they have been treated or how Nick sometimes talks over them or doesn't listen or some of those things. So I think that they could go early.
Nick also in Trinity, the last season that they played, they took out somebody very early that was a big threat without thinking of the repercussions. And they ended up being voted out pretty soon after. So if Nick is making impulse decisions like that and taking people out just for the sake of a big move without thinking of what's going to happen next, which I think is kind of what happened when they took out Napolito in season 4, if that happens again, it could be their downfall.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, we will move on to the 4th placer from last season, making it almost all the way, but missing the final 3 by just 1 place. Kevin from season 5, who finished in 4th place. Anybody?
Sure, I can go. I think I talked a lot about Kevin and Billy's. Sorry. But I think that they will be targeted, and I think Kevin would be the kind of first boot of the 2 because Billy has the connections of Trinity. I think that they got far last season, but they're coming off of just last season, and so I think that they will have
the twist.
what?
The twist really helped them last season. That
I think. I also think that things are they had their Power of 5 alliance, but I think Rizzo's not going to work with them. I don't think. I think Cindy will kind of work with them. I don't think without Cindy, Bryce would work with them. And I don't think Nick will work with them because Nick and Bryce were kind of on the opposite side. And so I think that is very possible that they will go after Kevin because he was named villain of the season. You know that that he's very capable of not really caring about who he hurts because he was close. They were close. Him and Billy were close with Tawny, and they just cut her. They were kind of evil in how they did it with getting Xander and Cindy to numb themselves to pit Tawny on the block so that they could get her evicted by telling little lies or stretching the truth. And I think that that's going to catch up, and Kevin will be the downfall of that. I don't see Kevin getting jury, unfortunately.
Before I start on Kevin, I just want to preface, I do think that Kevin is an amazing person. I love Kevin as a person. Kevin as a player, I think is very, very aggressive and needs to tone it down this season because the way that he talked to people last season just was not cutting it. And I know that turned a lot of people off. And I don't think people will let that slide in this season in particular. Kevin is a really good player. If he's into the game, he's gonna play his heart out. And that's one thing that I do appreciate about Kevin the most is he does play the game and he plays it hard. I do have Kevin as one of my final first boot predictions. Because like I said, depending on who wins that first HOH, Kevin might need to worry, especially with the twist. I think he needs to worry even more. So I mean, would I be shocked to see Kevin make the jury and Billy go pre-jury? No, but would I be more? Well, is it more likely that Kevin goes early? Yes, I think that Kevin's going to have a very hard time making the jury, despite all the pre-gaming and all the pre-mating and all that stuff. I think Kevin's going to have a hard time.
Blake was saying that he wouldn't be shocked if Kevin made jury. I'd be shocked if both Billy and Kevin made jury.
For sure. I think one of them definitely goes early, if not both.
I really like Kevin as a person. I played Trinity with Kevin. We were on opposite sides, but I've said this before, but we still had a good relationship. I think that Kevin was very close to winning last season, and people know that, and it's a big threat. And as I said, the reason Kevin and Billy were able to dominate that season was because they always had somebody in their alliance in power, because there was 3 people in power, and so they were able to use that to their advantage, and be able to stay safe. I don't necessarily think that's going to happen this season, because they're not going to have that twist to be able to work with. I do think that they are adaptable, but I'm not sure. If they can get a good group of people going again, they might have a chance, but I feel like that other side is going to go for them first. Like, there's no way they don't go for them first. So.
Can I ask a question, please?
Mm-hmm.
Does Kevin go by they or them?
And Kevin, him.
Okay, because you were saying they and them. Okay, does anyone else besides Nick go by they or them?
I'm mentioning Billy and Kevin together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Was there any other players that go by gender neutral?
Just Nick.
Just Nick. Okay, just want to make sure before I don't use any incorrect pronouns or anything like that. Okay. Kevin's a pre-jury. I don't really have nothing. I don't know Kevin. I didn't really like. I mean, I watched his gameplay, but it just seems very snaky, and I think people are scared of that. So, like, unless the right people win, he's in big trouble and could be one of the first boots. Easy. I would go after him if I was in there. So that's how I'm basing my stuff. I guess who would I go after? But yeah, I think he's a player to watch out to be eliminated early. So that's all.
Okay. Next up, one of the top people in our power rankings. Actually, I think this person is the highest non-winner in the power rankings, finishing in 3rd place, very close to winning the game. Finishing in 3rd place in season 3 was Yoshi. Yeah.
Oh, he killed it.
Can I start off with this one?
Yeah.
I think this is one of my winner picks for sure. Name an org that Yoshi has played where he has not made the end game, because you will not.
He's not gotten 3rd place.
You will not find one, and I think that this is definitely Yoshi's time. I'd be shocked if Yoshi does not make end game, if not win the whole thing. He's another one of those triple threats that people don't really expect, even though it should be basically plastered on a billboard right in front of everybody because it's so obvious, but people are not going to look at that. Yoshi's making the end. I don't know if he's going to quite secure his final 2, but if he does, he's got the win, and I'd be very shocked if Yoshi did not make the end of the game.
I completely agree with what Blake said. I did not end up choosing Yoshi as a winner pick, but when we do fantasy draft, Yoshi will be on my team. So Yoshi, Yoshi's a great player. Like I have not seen a game that Yoshi hasn't made at least top 4.
Mhm.
Like Yoshi is an amazing player, and it really impresses me. And I think that season 3, the way that 1984 has run, we did season 1, we waited a bit, we did season 2, we waited a bit, then we did season 3, and then right after we did season 4, and then we waited a bit, did season 5. Season 3 didn't have time for people to really dwell on it. So because of that, I think these season 3 players are gonna be dark horses because people uh, yes, season 3 has had a good effect on this game, but I feel like those people are not as remembered simply because Dead Man Walking followed right after it, which was a big season. And so I think Yoshi's threat level is going to be forgotten. I think that X, because he's such a big character in this community, will be remembered. I think Bria, for winning, will be remembered. I think that Chris and Yoshi are gonna be able to fly under the radar a little bit better because they don't have that memorable sense to them that they should have, but they don't just simply because of the situation. I think that Yoshi has good connections to people that you might not think he would. I think that he is a very friendly person and will easily be able to make new connections. I think there's people on this cast that probably have never met him that will fall in love with him, like really want to align with him. So I think Yoshi's going to make it pretty far in this game. It might be a mistake for me to not have him as a winner pick, to be honest. But he was definitely in my top contention. So I'm excited to see you. I'm really excited to have Yoshi back.
Mhm.
I give Yoshi crap all the time about the cricket. And because he decided to spell my name wrong, so I call him Yosh. But I think that he kind of will fly under the radar at the beginning. And I think that he'll use that to an advantage. He'll use it to get a stable position. And I think he is also one we've talked about if there's two sides, people flipping back and forth. I think he could be one of those people who's kind of in the middle, but I think he would know how to play it and would be able to not be targeted for being a flipper. I think that he would go far. He is really close with Bria, but I think that she will, because she's the winner, she'll be more of a threat.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, my internet cut out. But yeah, I agree with what Paige has to say. I think people will look at Yoshi, but they're not gonna like stare at him too long. You know, like he's like on the wall, but he isn't the main attraction on the wall, if that makes sense. And I think he's a very strong social, strategic, and physical player. And I do agree with the fact that that Bria will be the one targeted over him.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for Yoshi, if he plays, I think if he goes under the radar in the beginning, I think he's someone that will go very far in this game. I don't think he's going to win it because I think people will realize his threat status later on. But I do think he makes mid to late jury. So
Yoshi was also one of the people that's gone the farthest being unnominated. In his season, he went to Final Four without being nominated.
wow, that's impressive.
Big. I think one of the only other people that's made it that far was Jonah was the same week. And then Sam made it pretty far without being nominated, but that was on eviction night. And I think Caleb Reed was the same thing on eviction night. I don't know if he was ever on the block. But Yoshi didn't even touch the block pre-veto until Final Four. So I think that's a very impressive statistic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next up, one of the people that people might question why we brought them back, but I think that they earned their spot here. He was the first juror of last season. This is Nick Benner. I think that Nick Benner has a shot here. I think with this group, I'm not sure if he'll fit in with this group because it is a lot of 10 gaugers, and I don't think Nick usually vibes with that sort of group, but Nick is a very good player, and if he makes the right connections, I think he could go far. Nick definitely puts his all in games, and if he wants something, he will do his best to get it. I think that one downfall of his might be the fact that two people that voted him out in surviving are on this cast, being Luke and Keaton. So that could cause a little bit of drama, especially because Keaton was Nick's number one. So that it was not reciprocal. Keaton's number one was not Nick. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. If Keaton picks up on that, I think Keaton could go after Nick. So I don't know. We'll have to see how that plays out. I'm really looking forward to see Nick play again. I have Nick making jury, but I think it could be a similar situation where he gets early jury.
I too think that Nick will make jury. I think that of the season 5 players, he'll fall more under the radar because you have Billy and Kevin, who were huge villains. You have Bryce and Cindy, or Bryce, who was the hero. Like, you got these big characters, and I think because he didn't make it as far, like, he'll fall through. And I think that he'll be able to use that. I had another thought. Oh, a lot of people don't know that he's on the cast. I don't think anyone's put him in their like thoughts of who's casted, and so I think he's done an incredible job of not letting anyone know and not having the pre-gaming. So that also means he's not pre-gaming, but people aren't pre-gaming against him. I think that he'll be able to pull it off pretty well. I don't necessarily know if he'll win, but I'm a huge Nick supporter, which I know some people disagree with, but I think that he normally plays a fairly good game, and that he does deserve this spot. He was in contention for hero, even though he got 11th place. I think that we'll see a lot of like that side again. What?
He was in contention for villain, not hero.
Oh, I thought because we had Billy and Kevin that
he was for villain, but that I could be
whatever.
He was in contention for a big award either way. So
yeah.
I guess I can
talk.
Oh, I guess I can go. I've actually played with Nick before, back in like a long time ago, VMR era. So anyways, I think Nick is someone to watch out for. I do agree with the fact that out of the season 5 group, I do think he's the least threatening coming in. The one problem I have against his game would be the fact that like you said, people are pre-gaming and he's not in the plans because people won't necessarily are going after him, but they're not wanting to work with him. And that makes me worried that he could possibly become a floater and become a target because of that. However, I do think he will make jury regardless of whatever he does. I think he's smart. I think he's a good competitor. I think he's well-rounded. I don't think he wins, but I do think he makes jury, at least. So, yeah.
Sorry, the VMR was like a trigger word for me.
Oh my God. Wait, does Michael and Paige know what happened in that?
That was a nightmare.
Okay, so I'll explain it real quick. So week 2, I was nominated on the block for it, and Blake was competing in the veto or whatever. And it was majority rules, which was a weird competition to have for a veto. But anyway, we were trying to throw it. And I failed to throw it. And then Blake got backdoored because I used the veto on myself.
Yeah, Caleb was gonna throw it to me. Caleb was throwing it to me, and then Caleb ended up winning the comp.
I ended up making the top 2, but yeah.
Okay, So for Nick Benner, I really love Nick. I do. And I hope that he goes far. But I'm gonna bring a different perspective than what you guys have brought because I think it's a possibility. We can't forget about Nick's little tiff with Kevin and Billy last season. We also had, like Michael said, we also have Luke and Keaton who voted Nick Benner out. I think Nick Benner could be Rizzo's saving grace if Rizzo is to have one. Because I think between Rizzo and Nick Benner, Keaton would potentially push for Nick Benner to go. And I know if Nick is in with Billy and Kevin just a little bit, Nick is also going to push for Nick Benner to go over Rizzo. So I think that could be a possibility. However, I do kind of lean more towards what you guys are saying about Nick Benner going to the jury. I think that he stands a good shot at making it far in the season, and I hope he does because I would like to see Nick Benner go far. I know we didn't really see him go far in Surviving. He went early in his Big Brother season, so I'm really hoping this could be the season he goes far. But like I said, I could see it going either way with him. He could go early because of situations.
Yeah. Okay. Next, coming in from season 3, we have Hot Girl Chris. I'll just go. I love Chris. Chris was the only person to vote with me the night I got voted out of Trinity, so love you, Chris. I think Chris has a good shot with this cast. I think that he doesn't have obvious connections other than Lee, but I think he does have some connections. Though I think it's important to note that Yoshi was the HOH when Chris was evicted, and Chris does not like Bria at all, and I would assume that means Bria does not like Chris. So Chris was the only person to not vote for Bria in the end, so that could have a factor. So I think if Bria gets an HOH, I think Chris could be in trouble. If Chris gets an HOH, I think Bria or Yoshi could be in trouble. But I think Chris is the type of person that will be a very social player and be able to manage those relationships to be able to at least make jury. I think Chris was one of the people I had in contention for my winner pick, but I didn't quite choose him. But I think I would not be shocked if Chris won this game. I do think Chris will make it to jury, if not like final 5. So
I go. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. You can go.
So
first.
I just played a game hosted by Chris. Chris is extremely likable. Everyone loves Chris. His personality just kind of shines through. And I think he will have a very strong social game. And I think he can win competitions as well. So I don't think that's a problem. My biggest concern is I do think he makes jury, but I do not think people will let him touch it to the end. Because if he makes it to the final 2, he wins. Because just how likable he is. I think he'll be took out at around 4th, 5th, or 6th place, around that area, right before the jury. Like when jury management starts becoming important, I think people will realize how big of a threat Chris is and take him out. But I do think he has a good shot to make it very far. And I don't see an outcome where Chris doesn't make jury, to be honest with you. Because he's not the biggest threat, but he's a big enough threat that people don't use him as an expendable number. So I think he's a fair shot where he has a good balance between a threat and a non-threat. So yeah.
I think the only situation I think that that Chris leaves pre-jury is if Bria gets HOH and targets him. I don't know if Bria still thinks about that, but I think that Chris still thinks about it. So
Chris, I love me some hot girl Chris. An amazing person. He does play pretty well as well. One thing about Chris, I'm gonna bring up the same point that I brought up with Billy and Kevin, because Lee and Chris are are a duo as well. I think that they need to separate from each other. Do I think it's going to happen? No, just like I don't think it's going to happen with Kevin and Billy. But I think they need to learn when it's important to separate. Because sometimes it's important to learn to divide and conquer. That's the best strategy, and I think that would be the best way for them to go. I don't think it's going to happen, but I think that would be the best way for both of them to make it decently far into the game. Like I said, between Chris and Lee, Chris could be viewed as the bigger target and the bigger threat, so they could take the strike at him if they really want to make that big move early on. However, Chris gets along with everybody, well, mostly everybody. He could literally get along with like a rock on the ground outside. Like he gets along with everybody. And I think everybody loves him as well. So I don't see him going like first or second. If he goes pre-jury, I think it's going to be late pre-jury. But most importantly, I do think he will make the jury for sure. But it's very situational. A lot of these are situational.
I think another thing that was not brought up with Chris is he still working 2 jobs? I feel like he works a lot. Like I see on Snapchat,
Roadhouse.
I think he's just working Texas Roadhouse. Yeah.
Okay.
But he works at night shift, so like you know how like how my schedule was in my 1984 season, how messy it was.
How you two caused some drama because of it.
Me and Paige were the late night crew.
But I think that could be a downfall. Because like he's very social, but if he's not able to be super social or around when people are around, like that could hurt his game. But I think, as I was saying earlier, like between him and Lee, he will most likely be the one that survives if they are up on the block together. I think, like you guys all mentioned, he's very lovable, but he is also, because of that, a threat. So that's like why you saw him early jury. And I think that we'll kind of see the same type of thing again this season. Last season he had Lauren. This season he has Lee. But I think Lauren was the one that was liked more of the two.
Forgot to mention him and Sam are very close too. That's very important to remember, I think. I think those 3 could end up being a threesome more than even a duo. Possibly. I don't know.
Yeah, so I think
like through a whole nother but
you know, I think his work schedule could help him though. And here's why. If he's not online all the time, people are not going to view him as this big social threat, as this big crazy person. But I mean, obviously it could work against him, but where he's known to be such a likable and lovable character, I think him not being as active could work in his favor. To be like, okay, wait, Kristen is as big as a social threat as we thought he was. Let's just keep him going. And then he makes his way all the way to the end. So who knows? But
I think, as I was trying to get to before Michael interrupted me, I think we'll see him maybe more of the Lauren situation because she was the more likable of the two. She was the one that was a little less there, but she did make it farther. So I think that's kind of where we'll see Chris is like that 9th to 7th place. 9th is the same place that he got, but it's a much bigger cast. So I think that 9th to 7th is about the range that we'll see.
We like to call it the 9th place club around here. There's a lot of icons in that club.
There are a lot
of
yes, Paige.
I don't know. We could be getting another member, but we only ended up casting I think 2 of them. So it's a 2 in 22 chance we could have a repeating member. But we'll see. I think anybody would be a good member though.
Ooh.
It's Billy Stevens, Paige,
as much as
Nick, and Sam Yu. Yeah.
Oh, those are all really good players.
Right. And then in surviving, it's Lauren and then Caitlin Orr.
Oh,
Yeah.
Caitlin Moore. Oh, my love. Okay. Anyways.
But yeah. And then in the mini, it was Nick, so it was a repeating person. So, okay, are we ready to move on?
Yes, sir.
Another season 2 person. This person definitely was a wild card going into season 2. I had no idea what to expect from this person, and then they came back in Surviving, played an okay game. So we are talking about Luke, who got 5th.
Can I start?
Sure,
Yeah.
go for it.
Oh my god. Okay. Luke is a very big personality. As a very I think he's another one that needs to tone it down a little bit. I didn't watch him play Surviving, so I don't know how he played in Surviving. But I think Luke, he's not. I actually think this could be a season for him to do well. But my problem with Luke, though, is I don't think he has as many connections as a lot of the other cast does. And I think that his personality could rub people like just because I played Drew P the wrong way, because Drew P tends to not like those kind of personalities. So I think Luke is a jury member, but I could see him going middle pre-jury. I don't think he'll be the first or second like pre-jury, but I could see him getting like the 16th, 17th range, or he goes like jury somewhere. But I love Luke. But I just think his personality will be rub some people the wrong way.
See, Luke, during Devil's Playground, Michael and I really predicted Luke to go early because he was just non-existent. And then Luke came out of the woodwork. He came out of nowhere. And we were like, holy shit, okay.
Who is this boy?
That was the surprise of the season. So I mean, he proved in season 2 why he's an all-star. He played a great game.
He's a comp beast.
Yeah, he won 1 million comps, and he wasn't afraid to make moves when he needed to as well. And I think Luke is also the triple threat that people need to look out for. I definitely think Big Brother is more of his thing.
Style.
When he came back to Surviving, he was kind of non-existent at times. So I don't know if he just lost interest or if he's not as big of a fan of Survivor as he is Big Brother. But I think Big Brother's more of his thing. He's got his reality room thing going on, so that's kind of cool as well. And I kind of agree with Caleb. I think he's going to make the jury. I could see it kind of being a repeat Surviving thing where he gets first juror or pretty close to that. Kind of just depends on who wins HOH and if they want to make a big move or not. Because I think. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. You go ahead. You're going.
Oh, I was just saying. I could see it being the same thing as I said for Tyler, where if somebody doesn't want to make that standout big powerhouse move, they could go with a Tyler going or a Luke going or somebody.
I think Luke's a big move. I just don't know if people know that.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that Luke will probably make jury, but I think that, as Blake mentioned, he has the reality room, and I actually think that could be a downfall because he's like in his production chat today. He was like, "Oh, is there anything at 8:30 on Tuesday, or was that yesterday?" Anyways, he said something about 8:30 Tuesday. And he's like, "Oh, that's the time of reality room." Like, he seems kind of like if reality room is needing him, he'll not pay attention to 1984. And I think
is fine. Like, I get that.
Yeah. But I think that, like, because of that, we could see him not as active and see him going. But I also could see him being like that swing vote, flip-flopper, falling through the cracks and making, my guess is early jury. I think he'll probably be the second juror. So 12th place.
I can see that.
I have high hopes for Luke. I don't necessarily have him as a winner pick, but I think he does have a good chance of making it far. I think that he also could be first boot. Like, a lot of these people don't know him, and if they first week, Luke could be a very easy nomination, which is unfortunate, but it could happen. I think that Caleb Reed wants Luke's head on a burning stick. So
For sure.
if Caleb Reed gets power, Luke is dead in the water. But if sorry, um, if Caleb Reed does not get power, I think Luke could make it pretty far. I have Luke making jury, but I could see Luke hitting any placement, to be honest. Like,
He's a wild card. That's the
came
thing.
back in the mini and he got 4th place. Like, he did really good in that too. He got 5th place in his season. He got 4th place in the mini, and then he got 12th place in surviving. He's always made jury. He technically, if you look at it, in the 9 games that we've played, or that we've ran, including the mini and both survivor games, he's now been in 4 of them. Like, he's one of the most reoccurring people in our series. Like, he should be a big threat, and I don't think he is. So it's interesting.
I agree with the first boot thing. It depends on how active he's in the beginning. Because if he pulls another like season 2 thing where he's like not active at all, he's in trouble. Because if I'm not mistaken, wasn't he one of the immune people week 1 in my season?
Yeah, he was going to be targeted by Caleb, but he was one of the people that got immunity, and that's what was Caleb's downfall. But yeah. So.
Kyle.
Kyle literally. Oh yeah, because we actually played with him.
That was a situation in itself.
Right. Okay.
That screwed me. That screwed Caleb. That fucked the whole season.
So okay.
I don't know. It may have helped me though, but.
Okay, we are moving on to a 5th placer. Our most recent 5th placer. This next person is Bryce. Bryce was actually a last-minute addition to the cast last season. Not really last-minute addition to the cast, but he was a last-minute applicant. And he ended up impressing us.
I feel that.
I personally, Bryce is the first person on this list that I have as a winner pick. I think that Bryce has a lot of connections in this game. He is going to be able, I'm sure, to work with Kevin and Billy and Cindy, but I think he could easily work with Caleb and Chris and Lee and Sam and Tyler and all those other 10-gauge people. So I think Bryce has a very good shot at this game. He is a very social player. He's also a very physical player, another triple threat, in my opinion. So I have very high hopes for Bryce. I would love to see Bryce win this game. I think he deserves it, absolutely. So I think it'll really just depend on how the sides fall and the pecking order of each side. But I think Bryce has a really good shot at winning this. I don't think that anybody's going to target him early. Like, I don't see anybody in this game other than maybe Rizzo that would target him early.
Bryce is also one of my winner picks. Thanks, Michael, for beating me to that. Okay, Blake.
What?
You said I'll be right back. Or was that a while ago?
A while ago when he left.
Oh, I didn't even notice.
I guess I'm just invisible, Paige.
I'm sorry. Okay. But anyways, I agree. I think Bryce, he won't be the targeted person from season 5. I think that he'll be able to work with a lot of people and that he will do well. I think last season he would have won if he'd made the end. And so I think it's very likely that he probably will float under the radar again and do well.
Bryce. Bryce is my second winner pick as well.
We love that.
Bryce is in a very, very good spot coming into this season. I was actually on a call with Billy Vance the other night, and Billy has a plan to get Bryce the win if the very first comp was a popularity contest, which is why I'm glad we're doing things a little different this year. But also,
but he could still pull it off with it. So
Right. It just goes to show that Bryce has all those connections that would have won him first HOH this season if we did a popularity contest. Bryce, like you said, is socially aware. He's socially good with people. So he has that aspect down. He's strategically very, very smart. And he can win competitions as well. I think he's able to win when his back is against the wall, and when he needs to. The one thing working against Bryce is kind of what I said with Nick. I think Bryce gets too trusting with people, and that's what we saw last season with Rizzo. And while I do think that that was a dumb move on Rizzo's part, I do think Bryce was too trusting in Rizzo and was not expecting that, and that was his ultimate downfall. But overall, I think Bryce is in a very good spot, and I think that he is one of the biggest contenders to win this game.
Okay, I'm going to go a little bit off the wall because if I was going to play this game, I personally would target him. So I do think he will make jury. But they're like, if people, it just depends on how smart they are. Honestly, if they're smart, they will take him out before he gets to the end. Because if he gets to the end, he wins. But I think you casted some competent people, so I think he will get early jury. I think he will get early jury. I don't think people are going to let him get to the end. If they do, they're dumb and he deserves to win. So, yeah.
Next up, going all the way back to season 1, this person was almost first boot season 1, but Miss Sarah Abramowitz did not vote and did not qualify.
Why did you not bring her back?
I tried. I just want to say I tried. She's an all-star to me, honey.
Okay. But
Name a better surgeon. Name a better surgeon.
Wait, pause. Did she actually tell people that she was a surgeon?
Yes.
okay.
What
But
a queen.
I didn't vote. This person ended up going pretty far in the season and was only a couple comp wins away from probably getting second place. This person is Keaton.
Can I go first? Can I
Yeah,
go first?
go.
Okay. The biggest crackhead I know in games. I am currently trusting Keaton and Trinity. Well, I was when I was on a tribe with him, and that may or may not be
Trusting him. I love Keaton.
that may or may not be a downfall for me later in the game. But I do think Keaton, if Keaton is vibing well with you and he has your back, he will have your back for a very long time in the game. However, he is one of those people who, when he gets an idea in his head, he needs to act on it right away, whether it's making a stupid decision or exposing somebody in the tribe chat, or not. I guess you wouldn't have a tribe chat this time, but like he does off the wall shit that I kind of love about him whenever I see him in a game, because I know you're really gonna expect the unexpected with him.
I wish I could have played with him. Damn it.
It's your own fault, dude.
I think
Maybe I could come in as like an intruder, like week 2.
Caleb. We can Caleb all the tea so we can go in the house and
That's the strategy. We love a riggery from you.
He's definitely unpredictable, but he's got people backing him, and he's got people who are going to be bigger targets than him. Every single game, he finds a way to maneuver his way through and get decently far. So Keaton's for sure making the jury, in my opinion. I don't think he's getting pre-jury, even though one would look at it and be like, this kid is not making it far. I'm gonna say he makes jury for sure.
I can agree with that. I think Keaton's making jury. I think that there's like specific, like Nick Benner might give him pre-jury, but that's really it. I have very high hopes for Keaton. He's not one of my winners picks, but I wouldn't be shocked if he makes it there. I think he does need to make sure that his social game is on point, because if he would have made it to the end of season 1, I don't think he would have won, because I think that his jury management just wasn't there. But I think he has worked on it since, and I think that he would have a good shot in the end. So Keaton was gonna be one of my closest allies in Trinity, but we all know how that turned out. So yeah. I love Keaton though. I'm very excited to have him back. He was a big crackhead in the mini and in surviving, so it'll be fun to have that back.
With Keaton, oh my gosh, my internet's being weird again. It keeps cutting in and out. I don't know if you guys can hear me. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
we can hear you.
Oh my god, sorry, my internet keeps freezing. But okay, with Keaton, I'm the one thing I am worried about him is that in an all-star cast, people will use anything that you do against you, right? Let's say he gets paranoid like week 6 or 7 and exposes an alliance, he just now becomes target number 1. So if he can control his erratic behaviors, I think he goes really far. But if he can't control like his like outburst, I do think he will be targeted before that and get pre-jury. I don't know if you heard what I said, but
Yeah, you're
Yes.
good. Paige, you want to talk? You don't have to.
but I think he's a good player though.
Yeah, I'm
I
excited.
think Keaton is the one person that like I don't really know much about. Like I was a viewer season 1, but I don't really remember anything about him. I wasn't around for the mini I had worked that day. I wasn't around for surviving 2. So like I don't really know how he'll play. I want to say that he'll get pre-jury, but you guys all think that he'll get jury, so who knows? But I feel like we're saying a lot of people will get jury, and there's only so many spots.
Yeah.
That is true.
So-
Wait, because how many pre-jurors are there? 11?
yeah.
No.
Now I'm glad I'm not playing because 22 people is a lot.
No, there's nine pre-jurors, right? Yeah.
13.
11 on jury this season.
Are we moving on? Or
Paige, we should come back and play together.
those were Blake. We really had the 2 people that declined us on our cast assessment with us. Whatever. Okay. Next up is the second member of the Power of 3 that we are assessing. I think it's very fun that we had a 22-person cast because this number is very special to him. So next is Drew. I think that Drew,
Caleb's face.
Caleb's best friend. I think that Drew's going to be targeted. I honestly think that Drew could be targeted before Megan. It really will depend on who is in power, but I think people know that Drew's shady. Like, he is so shady, but he's a really good player. He makes it to at least jury every time he plays. I personally have him pre-jury. I think he's going to get pre-jury this season. I think that if more than one person from the Power of 3 makes jury, I'll be shocked. But
That's what I was thinking.
if 2 people from the Power of 3 make jury, I think it'll be Megan and Caleb. I really think that Drew's probably getting pre-jury. He could surprise me though, because obviously he's a really good player. So he could definitely surprise me. But I think that with this cast, with these people, I don't necessarily think he's gonna have the connections that he needs. So
I will go about Drew P. Sorry, I'm in the habit of calling him Drew P because I play with Drew P and Drew O, but Drew is a very smart player. He's very socially manipulative and like he can go far, but I don't think he has the connections, and I think he's starting to get a reputation of being a backstabber within the Ord community. I think he's going to have trouble fitting in with this cast. There's a lot of big personalities, and he tends to not work well with big personalities. Well, I don't know. He worked with Megan
and Caleb, I don't know.
But I think if he sits on the block against a Caleb or Megan, I think he could go home against them because I think Caleb and Megan have more connections. So let's say, Caleb and Megan are nominated together and one of them, let's say Megan wins the veto, Drew goes up as a replacement. I think Drew goes home against Caleb.
I
So
100% agree with that. I think it's very likely for Caleb and Megan to end up on the block together and Megan to win the veto and Drew to go up and out. Like I can vision it now. Like even like week 1. Like week 1, the power of 3 could be the nominees week 1. Like I could see that
I would not be shocked.
Yeah.
I also agree. I don't think we'll see Drew go very far. He kind of painted himself in a different way during Instinct, and I think that might not help him. And I think that of the power of 3, he's the one with the least amount of connections, and he's the one that isn't necessarily as good at social. And so I think it's very likely that we'll see him go. And so, yeah, I would be shocked if he made jury. Sorry, Drew.
Karma's a bitch. It's fine.
I kind of agree that I think Drew or Megan will be the first one cut from the power of 3. And I think the remaining person will make it further than the other 2, which is kind of shocking that I'm saying that, but we'll get to that later. Drew honestly kind of reminds me of Danny Donato in a way that he will always try to make the moves, but right when he's done talking to you, he will go to a different person, throw you right underneath the bus, get in the driver's seat, back up over you 15 times, and then go away. Like Drew is very, very shady, and
It really is Danny Donato. What the heck?
yeah, I definitely think that he may be one of the first to go from the entire cast. I don't necessarily think he would leave because of his social connections. I think he would leave because he's just overly shady for no reason.
Which is exactly he targeted Napolito in Surviving. So, Mr. Drew, you step down.
I also know that. Oh, sorry.
Go, Blakey.
I also know that a lot of people are aware that all 3 of the power of 3 cheated. So there are some people who are targeting them just for that reason, not even based off of their gameplay, but for the sole purpose that they cheated.
And Megan even mentioned it in her video. So, yeah.
Wait, what did they cheat in? I'm sorry.
Okay, so Megan and Caleb cheated in an HOH comp. And it got Caleb HOH. And we didn't find out about it until postseason. And then Drew tried to cheat in the final HOH. He had
What were the challenges?
So it was a word search, and Megan sent the word search to Caleb during the triple. And then Drew, we made them cover their face, and they had to take their covering off after 22 minutes, which is why I think 22 is kind of funny. And
he went for an hour and 20 minutes or something.
His timer didn't go off.
Yeah, because he was waiting for his timer to go off, and it never went off.
That's karma. That is karma.
Exactly.
He set a timer for 20 minutes and it never went off. And so he refused to take it off because he was like, it hasn't been 20 minutes yet. But I'm gonna say I think Drew will be a first boot.
I wouldn't be shocked.
Of the season?
I don't have him as a first boot pick, but I wouldn't be shocked if he got first boot.
Same.
Yeah, I definitely think the power 3 will be targeted either the first, second, or third week. One of those weeks, one of the power 3, one of them will be leaving.
And I think all 3 of them have different people that are going to campaign to get them out.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure.
And I think Caleb is the most likable out of the 3. And I think Megan is more likable than Drew. So I think Drew goes home in any situation against them.
I mean, if you look at Surviving 1, they all 3 played together, and Megan was the one that made it farthest. So Drew was the middle one. Caleb got out the earliest, but also that was right off of his win. And I think it was situational as well because Caleb wasn't the original target that week. I think it just happened to be that way.
We got to remember that Nick was a big campaigner to get Drew out of surviving. So I think a lot of people are aware of Drew's shadiness and more starting to become aware of it. So he needs to watch out because that's not a great thing to be known for coming into games.
Okay.
I used to be known for that. That's why I had to switch my strategy.
Mr. Villain to hero. Okay. Next up is our final non-winner that we will be assessing. He is another season 2 player who made it very far, almost won the game, had to sit and watch as the final HOH happened, knowing that was going to be the one evicted either way. We are talking about Jabbar. I'm going to start with Jabbar. I'm so happy Jabbar agreed to play. He originally obviously did not agree to play. And then when Caleb Reynolds chose to not play, Jabbar got a spot back. And I'm very excited. Obviously, I wasn't excited for Caleb to drop, but I was very excited for Jabbar to be able to have a spot on this cast because he is...
Before you go, wait, go ahead. Never mind.
He is a 2-time Ascendance winner, recent 2-time Ascendance winner, very much known. So he obviously people know that he was a big contender to win season 2. He is probably the best to never win other than maybe Yoshi in our series and maybe Megan. But even that, Jabbar is very good at competitions. Jabbar right now is playing, I think, 2 other games. And so I think his plan right now is to lay very low at the beginning, which I think will work very well for him. I think as long as Caleb Reed does not get into power, Jabbar should be fine for a while. I think Jabbar has a good relationship with Megan. Jabbar has, I think, a good relationship with Bria, a good relationship with Rizzo, and a bunch of these other players. So, Jabbar also has a good relationship with Luke. I think that Luke will be very excited to see Jabbar back. And I think Jabbar will be very happy to see Luke back. I think those two will definitely work together. It'll be interesting to see.
The Blondies.
Right. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. I think as much as Jabbar should be the first boot of this game, Jabbar is one of my winner picks.
Absolutely not Michael Davis.
I think that Jabbar has a shot. I know it sounds crazy, but I think that Jabbar has a good shot. I think that he doesn't have enough connections that people will target him for them, but I think he has enough connections that it will keep him in the game. So I think that I honestly think that Jabbar will make jury because I think that's how good of a player he is. I don't necessarily know if he will win, but I think if he does the right things, I think he has a shot. So yes, Jabbar is one of my winner picks, and I know it's very risky. Him and my other winner pick are very risky winner picks, but I'm saying it now. I think Jabbar has a shot.
There is no way.
I disagree. I don't think Jabbar will win. I think he will have too much of a target on his back. You were saying that you don't think he'll be okay if Caleb wins HOH. The situation of Caleb winning the first HOH, I think Caleb would target Luke over Jabbar though. Mm-hmm. So that might be a situation where he would be okay with Caleb winning. But I think that he won't do very well with some of the season 2. I don't think he'll do very well with Tyler. Burks. Yeah. And so I think
I don't know.
I think that Jabbar will get, I know I've said this by a few people, but probably pretty early jury. Or he might be that last pre-juror. I think that he has too big of a name for himself. He tries to downplay it, but sometimes downplaying things makes the target bigger. And I think that could be a problem for him. And I'm excited to see him. I hope that he does well because I love him, but I don't have a ton of faith that he will get to the end. I think that he will get a worse placement than last time.
Okay, so I love Jabbar. I do. People would be absolutely nuts to let Jabbar go far. Whether he tries to play that laying low strategy, people should not care about that. They should take him out of the game ASAP, because if they don't, they're making a mistake. I know when Jabbar and I played Double Cross All-Stars, we tried to get each other a lot of the merge, we tried to get each other out, and nobody would take the other out. And we ended up becoming each other's closest allies at the end of the game and getting 5th and 4th. So that's another game he made it to the end of the game, despite being a massive target the whole merge. So I think that he knows what he's doing. He knows how to manipulate game-wise and get in socially well with everybody. I don't think he's winning. I don't think there's a universe he wins this game. He should be an early boot, but I could see him going far. I don't think he's winning, but he's either getting early boot or he's going far. There's no in between with Jabbar.
Okay, before I start about Jabbar, I just want to address something, Michael. If you would have waited like one more month to play this game, I would have played. Thank you. Anyways, moving on to Jabbar.
Dude. We got it.
I would have played 100%. So anyways, Jabbar. Jabbar, like I agree. I think that they would be dumb to let him go far. We were dumb to let him go far in season 2, but he still made it really far. I think with Jabbar, I think he's either one of the first 5 boots, like I said with Lee earlier, or I think he could be in the final 5. But I do think that his biggest problem will be how big of a threat he is, but I think he can work around it because I don't think he's the biggest threat, but I do think he has a major target on his back, and he's very good at talking and very good at getting people to do what he wants. And if he's able to do that, then he goes deep in the game. Otherwise, he will be one of the first few boots, I think.
So Caleb, what's your exact placement for Jabbar? I want to hear it.
My exact placement, I'm feeling 7th.
I can't wait for all of Caleb's predictions to come true.
Honestly, Jabbar getting 7th wouldn't shock me because of the triple that we have. Like
I can see that happening.
I could see it. Him and Rizzo, I think it could happen.
Listen, I am like good at doing the predictions. Like,
okay, now it is time to move on.
Just to clarify. Oh wait, no, never mind.
Okay, it is time to move on to our most recent champion, the second female that has won this game. It is Miss Cindy.
My winner pick. Can I go first, please, on this one?
Yeah.
I think out of all the winners, I think she's the one that could do it again. Here's why. I think Sam being number 1 on the ranking is going to put a huge target on his back. People are going to take note of that. Burks, I just don't think, unless he can change his gameplay up, I don't think he'll be able to pull off what he did in season 2. Bria is a big personality, and Caleb is just a big target for Power 3. I think Caleb makes it far. He's not going. I think Cindy is likable. She's socially really adaptable, and I think out of the entire winners, I think she has the best chance of becoming a 2-time winner. She gives me kind of Nicole F vibes in the fact that she's not an obvious threat,
Yeah.
but people let her go to the end. And if she can win those last few competitions, she could somehow possibly make the final 2. So yeah, she's out of all the winners, she's my winner pick.
Can I go?
Yeah.
So I just started a game this last week, and she was casted, and she got 20th out of 20. Because she wasn't very social with people, and she said that she was sick over the weekend. So I think that if she's still not feeling well, that could be a big downfall, and she won't necessarily talk to people. I know a lot of people in the game said that she didn't talk. I think that she might get like some anxiety talking to such a big cast, and especially like she knows she knows Drew and Megan as well, and kind of Caleb. So I guess she knows 8 people of the 22.
Oh, so I didn't know.
So
Okay.
She knows
So
X as well. She's really close.
okay.
Like those two
Um,
in identity together, and then X cut her. But I still think
okay. So I think that she only knows maybe half the cast, and if she's still not feeling well, that could be a big downfall for her. I hope that she does well, and hopefully now that she's out of the other game, she'll be able to focus on this game. But I worry that it's possible we could see a same situation. And she's coming off of being the most recent winner. So that's the season that's most in other people's heads. So I feel like I could see her going pre-jury, even possibly first boot.
Okay.
Which would suck.
Cindy has gotten first boot quite a bit, but she's also made it really far a lot. So I could see either.
One way or the other, yeah.
Yeah. Out of the winners, I have 3 winners making jury and 2 winners making pre-jury. Cindy is one of them that I do have making jury. I don't necessarily think she'll win, but I do think she'll have a pretty good shot. I think she has an in with Kevin and Billy right now. She has an in with Megan. I think she has choices, and that is important. I think that her and Bryce are a very obvious duo that could be targeted, and I think that her being a winner, I think she'd probably get voted out. But I don't know. I think she's a very likable person and could definitely make it pretty far. I would not be shocked if she becomes a 2-time winner. In my winner picks, I wanted to pick one winner to be a 2-time winner. She's not the one I chose, but she would have been my second choice.
I think Cindy is the best setup winner coming into the season.
I agree.
Considering Billy and Kevin's, again, I don't want to use the term army for an all-star season, but the army that they're trying to create, Cindy is a part of that. So I think she will be okay for a while. I don't have her as my 2-time winner prediction, but I think that she'll go decently far. Out of her and Bryce, I think that Bryce is the better player, and that might be a little
I agree.
yeah. So I want her to change up her gameplay. Even though her gameplay worked out for her the first time, I want to see her play a different game, because I don't mean to sound rude, but like her gameplay wasn't the most exciting thing the last season she played.
But it got her to win.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't really I paid attention to season 5. Like I didn't watch it. Like I obviously watched the updates, but how did she play? Because I want to
I thought very under the radar, but maybe
she played a very under the radar, very social game. She was a big threat, but she had Kevin in front of her, she had Billy in front of her, she had Bryce in front of her. So it was kind of
Nicole F.
It was kind of a shield game. And the only time she was really that vulnerable was at Final 4, where Kevin was still a shield ahead of her, and that's why Kevin left. So she had shields in front of her, and so that's kind of how she played.
I also want to bring up one more point about Cindy real quick.
Yeah.
The same thing that I said with the duos, her and Bryce needed separate, divide and conquer. It's all about dividing and conquering, and I think they could do well if they do that. But this is all stars. People are going to look at the littlest reasons to target people because everybody's a threat. So
Exactly.
I think they definitely need to separate themselves or they will be targeted early on.
As I said, I think that Cindy and X could also be a duo. If Cindy and Bryce are not, like if Bryce happens to leave early, I think Cindy would attach herself to X instead of Bryce. And X is a very big threat, and I think X would go against Cindy if they went up together. So I don't know how many people paid attention to Identity, but it's possible that they could work together. But I think that a lot of the people that X will end up working with are a lot of the people that Cindy will not be working with. So we'll have to see.
Oh, Cindy and Megan are somebody that are two
Cindy
people that
and Megan, Cindy and Drew.
Cindy and Drew, yep.
Cindy
I
does
just
have a good
connection. Listen, I'm telling you, she's gives me Nicole Franzel vibes. People are not going to see her as the biggest threat of the. This is a winner. I'm calling it right now. She's going to be in the top 3 or 4. Calling it right now. Cindy will be the last winner standing.
Now that we are going over this, I think she does stand a chance at being a first 2-time winner, but she isn't necessarily my pick of who I think would be the first 2-time winner, but I could see it happening for sure.
Calling it right now. She's in the final 4.
Okay. Next, he is I think he's our worst placement that has returned, but he came back in season 4 and he took the whole game. This next person is Mr. Caleb Reed.
Yeah, Paige
Can I
wants
go
to go.
first? I want to go first.
Second.
This is my winner of winners pick. I just kicked something off my bed. Anyways, I love Caleb. I think that him having gone 14th will actually help him. It'll make him not be as much of a target as some of the other winners, I think. And I think that he is very good socially. I would love for him to win again. He was obviously my duo in season 2, and then after he got evicted, Caleb became my duo. I just like being duos with Caleb, I guess. But anyways, I think that Caleb will go far. He has the power of 3, but I think he has the ability and will socialize outside of it. He has Tyler, which I think will be a big help. I think even though Tyler mentioned him, people might forget that they have a showmance type thing going on. I think his biggest enemies would be Luke, obviously. But I think that he will go very far again. We've seen him do it multiple times recently, and I would love for him to win again.
What makes you all think that Luke and Caleb? Well, I don't remember the feud between Luke and Caleb. What?
Luke took him out.
Luke took him out, and then in the mini they went at it again.
And Luke took me out because of Caleb.
Yeah. So yeah, Caleb Reed hates Luke. He does not like Luke, and he's open about it. I'm sure tomorrow night when we do this cast reveal and he sees Luke, he's going to yell at us for casting Luke. It's going to happen. Another person is Jabbar. Jabbar does not want Caleb Reed on his cast, but he knows that Caleb is likely going to be here, and he's complaining about it already. I think they're scared of each other, and they should be, because I think those two are 2 of the best players to ever play this game. Caleb Reed had the best winning 1984 game. The power rankings obviously don't reflect that because of Caleb's losing game. Caleb came into surviving with a very huge target on his back and was taken out for 18th, but as I said, he wasn't supposed to be the target. So it's kind of situational. Caleb played the mini and he got third place, which is very impressive. And honestly, a lot of the people that played that mini are here. I think like 9 of the 13, I think it was something like that, are in this game. So the mini could have an effect on this game and some of the relationships in this game. I think a lot of like Luke's relationships will be affected by the mini because that's what Luke's going to remember. So I don't know. I have high expectations for Caleb. I do think that Caleb is likely to be the person that makes it the farthest of the power of 3. I think Caleb's going to make jury. I don't necessarily have him as my winner pick though, but I wouldn't be shocked. Like Caleb winning this game would not shock me.
Go ahead, Blake. Go ahead.
Are you sure?
Hmm?
Okay. Caleb, love Caleb Reed, my favorite drinking buddy. Caleb is such a fun person, and he's such a good friend, and he truly does care about his friends and the people that he knows he can trust. I do think out of the power of 3, I feel like I've said this so many times throughout this cast assessment, and I apologize. I do feel like out of the power of 3, he is the best setup, which it shouldn't be that way, but it is. I think him coming into the game, he needs to start out by locking in and securing that he will be okay with people like Jabbar. He needs to run to Jabbar, have a conversation with Jabbar. He needs to run to Burks because I know that Burks and him had a little bit of a tiff in season 2. He needs to run to Luke and he needs to have a conversation. He needs to hit on those 3 people in particular, and try to get good with those people, or at least come with a little bit of a plan not to target each other because of how threatening all 3 of them are, or 4 of them, I should say. Caleb is a really good player. Like Michael said, he played the best winning game that we've had. Oh my God, that balloon out of the corner of my eye just scared the fuck out of me. I'm sorry. Out of all of our winners, Caleb Reed has played the best game. And so he should be target number 1, but I don't think he will be. I hope he makes jury. I don't know exactly where Caleb Reed will fall because I think he could end up anywhere. Kind of like I said with the first 5 people that we did on the cast assessment, he's a wild card. He could end up anywhere. You could see him being first boot. You could see him making it to the end. Like, you don't know where some of these people are going to fall because it's so situational.
Yeah.
I think for Caleb Reed, I think I don't think he's gonna go out super early, but I think he will be took out during like a double or triple situation where people don't want him to be able to campaign. Because I think he's really good at campaigning. I think he's good at talking to people, and I think people are scared of that. I think he's the person someone would want to take it out during a triple or double type eviction. I don't know how many you guys have for those, but I don't know if they're in jury or free jury.
That's a really good point.
So I think whenever that happens, I think Caleb Reed could be a victim of one of those types of evictions. So I do think what is it, Michael?
I was going to say Caleb getting twist screwed would not shock me. He got twist screwed this first season.
So I think that's how he's going to play. Like I said, I think if he sits against Megan and Drew, I think he stays because he's more likable. And I think he is more rounded with like connections with people in the cast. And I think he has people like Tyler that are going to fight for him. And I love Caleb Reed. I think he's a good player. But I just don't think he's going to be able to pull it off again. But I could see him making jury.
Yeah, I think you made a really good point about him being taken out in a triple. I did not think of that. And the fact that he wouldn't be able to campaign a lot anyways. I think that's a very possible outcome, to be honest, if he makes it that far.
Next up is our very first female winner. It is Bria, the winner of the Golden Age. I really like Bria. I think Bria is a very big character. She's going to come into this game as a force to be reckoned with. She'll likely work with Yoshi. I've heard that she's pre-gamed with Billy and Kevin. So we'll see if that happens. I know that she knows Rizzo, she knows Jabbar, she knows Megan, so it's possible they all work together. I do unfortunately have Bria going out pre-jury because of how big of a threat she is, and she is probably the loudest of the winners. She's the most out there. I think that she probably will be getting pre-jury. I think she has a shot to make it to the jury. I just don't think it'll happen. So,
can I make a point for her? First off, I'm still impressed how she won season 3, like being that huge of a character and still making it to the end, winning.
right.
Awesome. But anyway, I think for her, what she needs to do is she needs to align with the other big characters, the people that are like loud personalities. And I think if she can do that, I think she can hide behind them and somehow make it to jury. Don't think she's going to win this game. I think she will not be took out too early pre-jury if she does get pre-jury. I just see her getting early jury or late pre-jury. But I do think she is another person that people are going to be afraid of and try to backdoor, because I do think if she has the time to campaign for herself, she could make a valid point to get rid of the person sitting next to her. So also want to bring up Napolito was trying to get me and her to pregame before the season happened, but that didn't happen. So
That's funny.
anyways,
I think Bria played a really, really good game in season 3. And I think she did definitely deserve to win the game. Bria has a lot of connections coming into this game, and I think she's also set up pretty well, kind of like Cindy. There's a lot of people that are going to be in Bria's corner. I think that she is a big, big, big player, so that could be working against her, kind of like Michael said. I wouldn't be shocked if she makes jury. I think she would be early jury, though, if she did make jury. So I'm going to give Bria early jury. I don't think she's going to make it super, super far, but I do think she'll make jury.
I think I'm going to give her last pre-juror. I think that she will have a big target on her back. And I think that she might just not have the connection. She has Yoshi. She has some of season 3, but I think that she doesn't really know a ton of people, and that could be a downfall for her. And I think that she could rub people the wrong way, and just I don't want to say it, but I think that she'll probably get pre-jury. But maybe she'll prove me wrong.
I do think out of all the winners, I think she probably has the hardest chance to make it farthest. I think just because she has less connections and she's such a big personality that people will target that. Unless, like I said, if she can make an alliance with the big personalities, I just don't think she'll make it that far.
I will say, season 3, she was the only person that didn't really have any like pre-game relationships, and she won. So it worked out well for her before. So
we'll see.
Next up is the only underage person in our cast, the only underage winner, the youngest winner of 1994 history, Mr. Burks.
Can I start?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I just want to start off by saying I love Burks. I really do. I think he's an awesome person. This might make me sound like a dick, but I think he wasted 2 years of his life missing out on org opportunities, because I don't think he's making it far whatsoever in this game. People are going to recognize Burks played the fuck out of the mini. Burks played the fuck out of season 2. Burks is a huge threat. Even in group games, there's going to be those 10-gauge players who are like, Burks plays shady, Burks plays this way, that way, and the other. Burks needs to go. And I think that Like I said, I love Burks. I'd love to see him make it far, but it's not happening. It's just not happening.
I think. Oh, you can go, Michael.
Yeah, I agree with Blake. I think Burks had an opportunity to play surviving. He could have dug into Trinity if he wanted to. He could have got into all these games that he had opportunities to play or could have applied for, and he specifically did not because he was waiting for 1984 All-Stars because he didn't want to cause a bigger threat on himself. But I think people know that. And Burks is a big target, and he's trying to get that target off his back, but I don't think that there's a way for him to do that. I mean, he won this game as a 14-year-old. Like, he was a 14-year-old playing against grown adults, and he won. And that's saying something. Like, he's a very good player. He's very under the radar, and he has good connections. But this game, I just don't expect him to make it that far. He is the other person that I put getting pre-jury out of the winners. If Burke sneaks through, I wouldn't be shocked. I just don't expect him to win. Though he got very close to winning that mini. So it wouldn't surprise me if he made it far, but I just don't expect it.
Burks, it would be my first boot of the winners. I think that there's been a lot of people who said that they will target him, and I think that he just won't do well. He is the only underage, and I think that won't be very good for him. He was talking about lying on his post, saying that he was 17 to make him seem a little older, but I don't think that he will do well. I think that he kind of will be the one person that kind of sticks out as the young kid. And I think that he just will struggle. I think things have changed since we played. And I think that he might not be able to break that mold. I think one thing going for him was that he was production for 2 seasons. So he does have those connections on season 3 and season 4. But I think that he will go pretty early. I think he won't make jury.
Okay. So with Burks, I think for him to really, really give himself a shot, he needs to switch up his gameplay. People know him as this under the radar, snaky, kind of like makes himself look like not a threat. He uses his age kind of make himself look like not a threat. I think for his game, actually, I think he needs to play bigger. Because I think if he keeps trying to do this lay low strategy, people are going to catch on very quickly to it. And they're going to be like, why we can't let him go to the end like he did in season 2. But the one thing he does have against it for him, I think out of the winners, he's probably the least threatening besides probably Cindy when it comes to competitions. So I think that is a good thing for him. I think if he can get himself in an alliance and maybe line with big players like the Power of 3 or like a Kevin and Kevin and what's this freaking blanking Billy. He might could use them as little meat shields in the beginning, and then maybe people will forget about him. But I just don't see a possibility for Burks making it farther than I don't know, like 6th or 7th boot. Honestly, I don't think he'll be the first one targeted, but I think he'll be I could see him or Bria being one of the first 2 that's people go after. I don't know. Burks is so complicated for me because I obviously underestimated him in season 2, and then look what happened. He won. So he can do, I mean, I don't know, but I think he needs to change his gameplay up in order for him to even have a shot.
Can I bring up one more thing about Burks real quick?
Mhm.
During season 4, Burks was on production, obviously. I know Burks got kind of irritated with Nick Watson making jokes about his age, and how he needs to go to bed and how he is up too late. It's past his bedtime. I could see Burks potentially targeting Nick Watson, or
Burks actually mentioned, well, I think one of the two of them mentioned that they hoped the other was there. I think Burks said it would be good if Nick was there. So not, but I don't know.
got you.
I think they might have played some group games together or something, so they might have fixed that relationship. But
Also, Burks, when you're watching this back, I
Burks
don't want
was-
you to think that this is personal. We love you.
yes, Burks has.
Burks was very upset that I declined.
Yeah,
I wanted to work with them.
yeah.
But go ahead. Sorry,
I
Michael.
definitely knew that you two would have been a duo in this game if you were there. Burks has definitely matured a lot since.
Oh yeah, I would have went back with the under the radar.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, Burks has matured a lot. I'm interested to see how he plays. But yeah. Okay. And now on to our last.
So one winner left, right?
Yep,
Mhm.
the last one. Our very first winner, the inaugural winner of this game, Mr. Sam.
I think Michael, you should go first on this one.
Okay.
I think we know who Michael's other winner pick is.
Yeah, my other winner pick, if there was going to be a two-time winner, I think that Sam has got it. I think Sam is a very good player. I think he has connections across the board. I think that he could use the fact that he's a winner to get in with any of the other winners. I don't think he has beef with any of the other winners. I think that he has good connections with Jack and with Lee and with Chris. I think that he could get in good with Bryce. He has a good relationship with Tyler. And then those people that he doesn't necessarily have a close relationship with, he's a likable person. He could easily get in with them. So he also was production. He was production for 3 seasons. So so he has that connection. I really have high hopes for Sam. I think if nothing else, he'll at least make the jury. Yeah, I am really excited to have him back. The one thing that concerns me about Sam is that in his video, he said that he was going to use the same strategy as before. And I think that that could be his downfall. Because I think that if people see that, they could be like, yeah, buddy, you won this game in a very good fashion, and using the same strategy is just not going to work anymore. So we'll have to see what happens. I think Sam's kind of in for a treat because this game has become a lot more about being active and online and on calls all the time, whereas in season 1 that wasn't always the case. And he does seem to be a more busy person now, being in college. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out for him. But I do think that he is my pick of the winners to be a 2-time winner. So
I have a question
brings-
for you real quick.
Go
Sorry, do you think though that he will, since he did win such a long time ago, do you think people are going to remember how he won? Do you think he could get away with using the same strategy?
I think he could get away with it, but I mean, well, so him and Jack got close in his season, so I don't think Jack would really expose his game. Lee and him, I think, are close. I think Keaton would really be the only one that would draw attention to Sam's game. But I don't know. We'll have to see.
I want to bring up something for Sam. Now that I really do think about this, like with his busy school schedule, like his busy life in general, if they wanted an easy first boot, why not go after a winner who's already won the game and who is not as active as maybe the other winners and doesn't have as strong of a connection within the whole house?
Yeah.
But that could also be a good thing. That could allow him to go under the radar and people not see him as big as a threat as the other 4 winners. I think personally for me, I think Sam will make the jury. I do agree with that, but I think they would be stupid to allow him go farther than 8th place. Because I think once he gets to that point, he's threatening. Go ahead, Paige.
I was just gonna say, you said that he's not as well in with everyone else. I would almost argue that he's better in with everyone else because he had all of those seasons of production. So he played with the season 1 people. He hosted season 2, 3, 4. So like he
That is
knows
true.
majority of the cast. And so I think he is actually in better than some of the other ones. Like him and Burks, they hosted at least 2 seasons each. So I think that like they're better connected than like Bria, who was never on production and who doesn't necessarily know anyone besides her season people. So I think that he will get jury as well. I don't necessarily know if he'll win again, but I am excited to see him play and see what he does and how the role of production for all those seasons plays an effect on his game.
I have a question for you guys. Could you all see him? Like you said, there's being 2 sides for him. Do you see him as a middle person that people will use as a vote?
I maybe, but I think that with the 2 sides, I think that Chris, Lee, Tyler are
Okay.
working with Megan and Caleb, and I think Sam will be with that group. I think I just don't. The only thing I could see would be maybe if there was some kind of winners alliance. I could see Sam more going with Burks than Caleb, but like I think of the winners, Sam would be closer to Burks and Bria than he would be to Caleb or Cindy. But I think that Sam is more close to the people that would work with Caleb and Cindy than the people that would work with Burks and Bria.
I think. Go ahead, Paige.
I was just gonna say there is a winners chat that we've had since season 2, but it's pretty much never active, and it's like only active when there's a new winner.
Very interesting.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if like we get them more active in there or if there's like breakouts of that, because you saw like Nicole and Ian say like they wanted to, I think they had a final 2, that they had a final 2 because they were the only winners. So like I don't know if there'll be like a pact within the winners to work together because they are winners.
I do think he will be in this like alliance you said, Michael, but I do think he will try to take a backseat in the beginning and try to allow people to lead this alliance and lead the votes and stuff. And I think that will be good for his game. But I do think there'll come to a point where if his side gets took a shot at, he could be someone they take a shot at against that alliance just for the fact that he's won. But like, go ahead since you haven't been able to talk. But yeah.
I just want to say, obviously, I haven't had my 2-time winner prediction yet, so there's only one option left. Sam and Diaz Twine. I definitely think out of the winners, Sam stands the best shot. I think he's the triple threat that nobody's going to remember, but he still is. One thing kind of that you guys touched on that I am worried about is his schedule, but I believe he was in college his first time as well, and we saw how he played his first
third
time.
year now, though, and third year it's a big year.
I still want to think that since it's All-Stars, he will put in his best effort to the season, and I do think that he will go far. I just, since season 1 is like our baby of the series, I think it would be so full circle if we had a season 1 winner, and I think that would be awesome.
4 options, it could happen.
But honestly, I could see anybody in this cast winning the game because they're all threats.
Every single person here deserves to be here.
When I was looking at everybody it was hard for me to be like, yeah, this person's gonna get pre-jury, this person's gonna get jury, and it was hard for me to choose a winner because it's like any of these
It's
guys
so situational. It really
Yeah.
is.
very situational.
And people you think that may not work together might end up working together.
Right. There
people who
Because
thought
in the
were
end,
relationships.
or some
Like,
people who we thought was like the most connected could go
Connect.
early. Like it's very, very situational, like y'all said.
because there could be two people on this cast that happen to hit it off that have never spoken to each other before, and it could change the whole dynamic of this game. So it'd be very interesting.
That's what I love about it.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness. I really wish I played now because I think I would have done so well in this cast. I think I would have played a very similar game to what I played in season 2. I think I could have been a very crucial number for both alliances and made it
I
all the way
think
to
you would
the
have been a
end.
middle player for sure. Like
Mhm.
choosing which way you wanted to go.
It's okay. Caleb
Yeah, I would have.
will be back eventually.
Yeah, I would have calmed my. I definitely would have not played like Instinct. I would have came in like smiles and hey, you guys doing, and then just like log off the first half of the game.
Nobody saw Instinct, right?
Caleb, I have a question. Do
Yeah.
you still have George?
Yes, he has a girlfriend as well.
Oh, I love
Oh,
Okay.
See, that's what I was gonna do if I did my intro video. I was going to bring back George, be like, me and George are back for.
I thought it was awesome. A lot of people in their intro videos did a little like look back at their old one. Like they did something similar to their old one, which I thought was really cool. So yeah. Okay, so now I think we're going to go around and name our official first boot pick and our official. I think we'll do 2 non-winner winner picks and then 1 person we think could be a 2-time winner. So we'll go around first and do our official first boot pick. Did my one go first? Because I don't.
I'll go first. And this is not biased, but I think it will be Drew P. Reason being is I think the power 3 will be targeted very quickly. And like you guys said before, I think out of the 3, I think he has the least connections out of the power 3. And I think if he sits on the block against Megan or Caleb, he goes home. So, yeah.
I don't want to say this because I love this person so much, but I'm gonna say Rizzo just because of the odds that are stacked against him. It would be tragic, but I think each week we're gonna see tragedy happen because we love every single one of these people.
Mhm.
Every week we're gonna get bad boot list. This boot list is terrible.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna get it no matter what this boot list.
It's smelly.
We're gonna get that.
I think Caleb brings up a really good point about the possibility of Drew being a first boot as well, but yeah,
I
I'm
think
gonna say-
in the grand scheme of things, like Rizzo was up there for me, but I think the most likely in the most situations, I'm between 2 people. I'm gonna say Lee because I think Lee is the most likely to be targeted by the most people, especially in week 1. Another one would be Jack, but I think that Lee's the one I'm gonna go with. So
I don't know why I'm picking this, but I am. I am picking X.
okay,
Interesting.
I wouldn't be shocked. Yeah.
You know what's wild though? I feel like there's like a universe where anybody in this cast could get first boot. So it's
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys
Mhm. Oh, 100%.
what's the possibility that a winner gets first boot? Do you guys think a winner?
Very, very likely. I mean, I could see someone just being petty and being like, well, put up 2 winners. Like,
Great.
3.
I could see a way that all winners make jury though as well, because I think
Yeah,
all of
I
them
could
are
too. If
capable.
the winners actually come together and then they get all the people that they're connected with, they could have a big power alliance. And then
Mhm.
mhm.
at the core of it, the winners could make it to Final 5 together if they play it right. But I don't expect. I do not
Yeah.
expect it to happen. But if they really wanted to, they could come together and make it happen. But I just don't.
Wait, Paige, you said there's 3 nominees this week, like
The-
each round?
Week 1, we're doing the Power of Three twist, but we're doing it a little differently. Each person is in the Power of Three is going to name one nominee.
Okay, that's yeah.
Okay, now we'll go with 2 people that you want to name as a winner pick that is not a current winner. And I think I might change mine up from what I said before, but I'll go first this time since I went last time. Or I didn't go last, but still.
I didn't.
I'm gonna stick with Bryce, and I think my other one is gonna. I'm probably taking Blake's. I'm gonna say Bryce and Yoshi. Bryce.
Michael always takes my picks. Always.
I'm gonna say Bryce and Yoshi. Jabbar is my backup, but yeah.
No way.
Bryce and Yoshi. I'm still putting Jabbar on my fantasy team.
Mine. Okay, I know, like this one, like I said, Nick Watson. I don't know, but I think they're going to do really well. I don't know. I have this weird intuitive feeling that Nick Watson will be in the final 2. I don't know why. But my other pick will be Tyler. I think Tyler is someone that people are going to forget. Was it? I know. I'm sorry, Paige. But I think people are going to really forget how good of a player Tyler is. And he was a 6th player, so he's not a threat on the terms of how far he made it. I think if he can use Caleb Reed as a shield, he could do major things and hide behind that Power of 3. Tyler could be our dark horse this season.
Mm-hmm.
Paige?
Well, both mine have been said. Bryce was the first one, and Tyler was the second one.
Blake?
That's all right, Paige. We can sit in the same boat because both of my picks have already been said as well. Yoshi and Bryce, for sure.
Okay. And now, Blake, we're literally going to say the same thing again.
I'm going before you this time then.
Okay, so Sam is my winner pick. So if there's going to be a 2-time winner, who do you think it'll be? Blake, you can go first.
Fine, I'm switching mine then.
Okay, so mine is...
Mine is Cindy. We made that clear. I think Cindy has Nicole Frenzel wrote all over her. I think she will use people with shields, and I think people will underestimate her and allow her to go to far again, and she will make it very far. And I think she has the best shot of all of the 5 winners to win it. So,
you better speak up real quick before Blake goes.
Blake can go. I don't care if he steals.
No, I'm sticking with Sam. Although I do think Cindy has a good shot as well, but personally, there's just a lot of hope that Sam can pull it off again because I think it'd be so awesome. But I think all 5 of them are capable.
Yeah, I agree. Mine is Sam. So when we do this fantasy pick, once this recording goes off, me and Blake are gonna be fighting. So Paige, who is yours?
Mine is my favorite person of this cast. No offense to everyone else, but Caleb is my 2-time winner pick.
Okay, so this has been fun. We almost reached 3 hours. That's okay. So this has been fun. This is going to be a fun season. I'm very excited for it. At this point, once you guys are watching this, somebody has already won. So congratulations to you, whoever that is. If you're a 2-time winner, great on ya. So I'm very excited to see this season play out. Happy 2-year anniversary to 1984. I can't believe it's been 2 years. We've had, this is our 8th season, if you include Surviving, as well as the mini. So we've had a lot go on in the past 2 years. I'm very thankful to everybody who's ever been a part of 1984. Very thankful to Blake for backing me on these 2 years. This has been a fun ride, and it only has more to come. So I'm very excited for the season to get going. So thank you, Caleb, for being a guest tonight. So yeah, that is all we have. Good night.